Good evening, everybody, and welcome. It's the WTF1 Super League once again here, and we have come to the home of British motorsport. It is Silverstone. Yep, it's time for the British Grand Prix of the WTF1 Super League from the Grand Prix Virtual World Championships. Jake Sanson here. Alongside me is Lewis McGlade. Down in the pits is James Kirk. It's going to be a really exciting battle for the victory this time, especially, Lewis, at this fever pitch point in the season when the title race is still fairly open.
Yeah, it is. And with some things that happened last round, we saw some maybe doors on the strategy front open up, and maybe that'll bring people to Silverstone, this tricky circuit for on tyre wear, on the cars themselves, on the drivers themselves. You've got to keep focus 100%. Maybe we're seeing those strategies opening up as we head into the midpoint of the season.
And you mentioned strategy. Of course, James Kirk down in the pits is going to be keeping an eye on everything as it happens. What can we expect from this Grand Prix, James, with the differing tyre strategies out there?
Well, it's going to be an interesting one, Jake, mostly because we were kind of worried yesterday with the Super Cup races that even the feature race might have 2 stops. The sprint race might have a stop. Now, that didn't actually come to fruition, but we have a lot of different tyre variation, as we always seem to do. Some teams going for all the softest compounds. Some teams, well, I lie, one team hasn't even brought the softest compound of all. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that all plays out during the Grand Prix.
Yep, there's a lot to come over the course of the British Grand Prix, but of course it's the Silverstone circuit in the heart of Northamptonshire. If you're unfamiliar with it or just want another reminder, let's hand you over to the capable driving talent of Mitchie Hoyer to talk you round the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
This is Mitchie Hoyer from ACR Saxby, powered by Simnews.tv and the Sim Pit, and we're live at the home of British motorsports at Silverstone Circuit in the United Kingdom, which is host of this round in GPVWC 2018 season. I'm sitting live in the ACR Saxby Runner, happy, delighted to take you around for another track presentation at this famous and historic Silverstone racetrack. And we're gonna come around the final king to start a lap. Into turn 1 we go, flat out right-hander, immediately followed by a flat out left-hander before hard on the brakes for a 180-degree right-hand turn, which is immediately followed by another hairpin to the left. And that is where the exit matters the most, because right now, after turn 5, Wellington straight, DRS wide open, approaching Brooklyn, narrow corner, late apex, keeps closing, immediately followed by Woodcote, a 180-degree turn, where again the exit matters the most, because right now you're on the old start-finish straight up to turn 9, also known Cox Corner, flat out through here, brilliant car balance into the most famous part, Mackett, Backett and Chapel. All you need here is rhythm, and once again a great exit speed out of Chapel onto Hanger Straight, second DRS zone, DRS wide open into Stowe, an incredibly fast right-hander, slightly missing the apex, but once again all about the speed before braking hard for Club. The final 2 turns, a right-hander that goes open, a flat-out king and across the line. So that is 1 lap around the Silverstone circuit, and yeah, obviously it's a high downforce track, but still it enables so much good racing because the track is incredibly wide. There are various lines to take around the circuit, and all the top class drivers will show what they are up to when fighting hard for the win in the GPVWC race 2018 at Silverstone.
Ah, I never tire of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Fast, furious and frenetic. It's always going to be the way here at the home of British motorsport. Qualifying has just begun for the WTF1 Superleague. Drivers starting to get their first hot laps of the session underway. There's a few comebacks, a few changes of driver as well, worth picking up on. Tom Parker is back in action this time, Lewis, for Evolution Motorsports. I'm wondering if there's a potential for him to get himself back up the order. Perhaps itchy feet in that team. He obviously decided he wanted to come and play on home soil.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what a circuit to come back to. That home track, there's nothing beats it. I made my debut here 5 years ago in GPVWC, in sim racing in total, obviously back in Formula Challenge. It's an excellent circuit, like truly a magnificent circuit to try and take on. It is a hard beast to tame, that is for sure. But, when you do it, it's one of those ones where like the driver really, really makes a difference. You've got tracks where it's, like Monza and places like that, where it is more about the car and how you've got it set up and stuff. But here, the driver can make so much of a difference because of how flowing the circuit is, how tricky the circuit is, how brave you have to be on the car as Tom Parker starts his lap. We've got all of the times beginning to sort of work their way out as they're heading through the sectors. No one set a time quite yet in this qualifying session, but we are going to get some soon.
Well, the other driver who's here for this one that wasn't there last time out 2 weeks ago is Matthew Williams, now in at Adonis Engineering. That's an interesting choice.
Apparently that car's looking pretty good. Yuri Kasdorp was putting some nice, decent times on the board there in that car as Alex Siebel sets his time as 26.218 to set the fastest time of the session ahead of Jarl Tyne on a 26.472. But yeah, that's a good team to be in at the moment, it seems, because Yuri Kasdorp's really finding some speed. Matthew Williams is someone who's shown some really, really good speed across sim racing, as I'm sure James Kirk will know, across sim racing as a whole. Coming here into the GPVWC Super League, we'll see how he is. He's done pretty well over Silverstone so far this weekend.
Yes, actually, that's a good point, James. What can you tell us about Matthew Williams coming into Super League for this round?
Yeah, so those of you who've been keeping an eye on Formula Challenge for this season, you've seen Matthew Williams. He's come up the order to be a real a win threat, and he took the step up to Super Cup last time out. Unless my brain's completely fried, I think he won the sprint race by going all the way to the end on super soft tyres. It was heralded as an amazing drive, but I've known this guy before as well. He's actually taken part in the Mercedes-AMG e-racing competition, one of the top echelons of touring car esports racing, and so don't count this guy out of putting in a good performance here in Super League either. The guy's got talent. He may be new here for this season, but he's got plenty of experience. You can count on that.
Well, so far in qualifying, fastest in the first section appears to be Petter Burlak on a 23.802. Siebel was initially quicker than he has gone in that first sector, but after one flying lap, he has brought it straight back into the pits. Jarl Tyne likewise, and then coming straight back out again. Dennis Jordan has actually stopped his car on the way into the pit lane and then continued on. But as things currently stand, it is Alex Siebel from Jarl Tyne, Petter Burlak, Risto Capit, Dennis Jordan and Borja Milan in the top six. Then it is Michael Ayers from Pedro Gomez and Jeff Fournier, who's just popped up a thousandth of a second off the pace of Pedro Gomez. Then it is Tom Parker in the top 10. Not bad for a return. Then it is Hutchison, Yuri Kasdorp in the second of the Adonises. So it's going to be a very interesting battle as we've got Yuri Kasdorp towards the sharp end. Dino Paolini, Osvaldo Angeloni. Such an impressive debut at the Red Bull Ring 2 weeks ago. No surprises at all to see him still there, Lewis, in the Red Archer car.
Yeah, so solid driver there. It's one of those qualifying sessions you'll probably see a lot of people improving late on because it's one of those tracks which really requires a rhythm. So you'll probably see, especially with the tyre wear, you'll see people do an outlap, a flying lap, an in-lap, an outlap, flying lap, in-lap, and you'll see 3 stints across the session. So we'll expect to see people going out for that middle stint here because of the tyre wear being so high. You can't stay out there and do laps. It's not like we had last round, where you could kind of stay out, you could do 3 laps and then come in and then go out again. So you'd only need to do 2 stints in your qualifying session. You need to work in that 3rd stint somewhere. You need to be out on track as much as possible, and you need to make those 3 laps, which they're probably going to get, and that's it, the 3-time laps. You need to make them all count and make sure they're all legal.
So I'm going to gently nudge James Kirk at this point because he needs to be getting his Filofax out to see who's got penalties coming into this race, because obviously there might be some qualifying penalties and some drive-through penalties to take into account. We'll come to that in a moment. I heard a rumour this week, Lewis, that there was a potential change of driver at the Red Bull Street Fighter team. Apparently Flo Gaia was getting a little bit itchy within that particular car, but he has chosen to race this weekend after all.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a struggling position, isn't he? Whether that car's, supposed to be good or not, whether that is a problem for Florian as a driver or whatever's going wrong, there is something clearly wrong within that outfit at the moment. We saw that last round. I don't know like how much he's on the super softs at the moment, which is quite an interesting thing. It's a real difficult time for Florian in Super League.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It's starting to look a little bit like Damon Hill in the early days of Arrows, 1997.
Yeah.
Very similar.
We're waiting for that Hungary race, aren't we?
Yes, we are indeed. James, what can you tell us about the penalties coming into this one? Do we have any?
We do. The big one, unfortunately, if you're a Red Archer fan, will be Pedro Gomez being consistently in the points. It's going to be difficult for him with the back of the grid penalty, though. It's a penalty which is shared by both Mad Capes. Tobias Olsen, who was in the first time in the points in ages in Austria, was actually a really good drive from the Swede. He's at the back along with George Sutton, who just struggled to even classify at the end of that race. Both Storms also with penalties. Duval with the back of the grid. Menoclon less harsh. He's got a 5-place grid demotion. And finally, Ben Horrell, the final one of those. He's also got a back of the grid in the Street Fighter.
Surprisingly, he's not set a lap yet.
Yeah, just to cut across you here, because Boya Milan is on a decent time at the moment as he's coming through the final sector. Obviously, in that special Silverstone livery, they're running the red, white and blue, as they should be for this circuit. And he improves to second. That is a good lap there.
That looks absolutely incredible, that livery. And Borja Milan only a whisker off of Alex Siebel, who's just improved to a 1:26.098. Had he not done that lap from Borja Milan would have been good enough to put him into pole position. So they really seem to have a good rhythm around here. The question is, if Borja can be that quick, how long is it going to be before Jeff Fournier is up there? He's done one flying lap as Jeff Fournier. Now he's on his next one. So what sort of pace is he getting? Well, at the moment, he's got a 23.8, so that is slightly quicker than Borja has done.
Pretty good indeed. We'll keep an eye on Jeff Fournier, obviously winning that first race of the season, yet to win since, but has shown some decent form. Obviously pole position at the French Grand Prix a couple of rounds ago, so he's definitely got the qualifying form on that car, and that car, say, it does look pretty damn good. Hopefully the good luck livery, although then again James did bring up the point, it does look like a Woods racing car, and that Woods curse,
it does
maybe floating around a little bit.
I tell you what, Jeff Fournier, I was just watching him through Maggots and Beckett's. The back end really is starting to come loose as you push on the car. But there are some drivers, Lewis, who really prefer that as a driving stance. They would rather the back end started to snap away.
Yeah, for me, it all depends on what kind of car you're driving, because there are certain cars. There's someone jumped off the other there. I think it was Ricardo Costa up into fifth position. That's very good for Hawkeye. Yeah, it kind of depends on the car as Jeff Fournier is going to cross the line.
Now, what can
there we go. Yeah, if in an open wheeler, you don't want to see really any sliding on either side. You need that balance. In a touring car, you'll be looking for that rear to slide out a little bit, unless it's a front wheel drive, at which point you kind of need a bit more balance as well. But like if you're a rear wheel drive touring car, you do want the rear to push the car around a bit more. Can I just say, that Fournier lap required a purple final sector, which is an interesting one, and he's pushing on again. He locks up his front left into Brooklands. He's going to lose a bit of time. For that, he's about a 10th down now in the first sector, but still, decent final sector there for Jeff Fournier.
Yeah, the potential for the front row is definitely there. Alex Siebel still consistently the fastest everywhere. The big shock is his teammate, Risto Capit, is at this point 0.4 of a second down. Once again, we've said it before, and we'll say it again, Lewis, this is important for Risto to try and get on terms and be as level with his teammate as he possibly can be.
Has to be redemption for Risto Capit. He's on a time lap at the moment. He's going to come to line. It's probably put him in the top 5. 6th. Oh, what is going on? Risto. We need some redemption here. He's struggled the last couple of rounds when his teammate has been so imperious at the top of the standards.
I'm going to stick up for Risto here. It's literally just over 0.4 between 1st and 7th. 0.4. That's not much in racing, and I know that I was part of the Risto bashing train last week. Well, today I'm going to stand up for him. That's really not a lot. We're looking at Alex Siebel. That's a blistering time. He's almost 0.2 clear of the rest of the field.
Yeah, but it's 0.4. You're in the same car, the same setup, the same everything. Alex Siebel's just gone purple through the first sector.
Wow, that's impressive. He's done a 23.7, and I see exactly where you're coming from, Lewis, in stating that, Risto is not only in the same equipment, but he's been in this team for the last season as well, as teammates to Rudy Van Buren, who of course is now a McLaren F1 test driver. So this is a simulator test driver, I should say. So, it is important for him to get up there as fast as he possibly can with this sort of electric pace. And interestingly, the car behind him on the road That's one of the Norwegians, but behind that is Alex Siebel. So he's not too far away from his team leader. I don't really, I hesitate to say team leader.
Watch this lap from Alex Siebel. He's purple again in that second. So this is going to be a big. This is going to be a 25 for sure.
Yeah, this is going to be a sub 26, isn't it? Because we've got Siebel in the final chicane. He looks very planted into the final turn. He's nicer on the curbs on the way through and the way out. He was a little bit hesitant on the way through the final sector, but
not quite.
Yeah, he was too hesitant in that final sector. I think he could have been a little bit more aggressive over the curbs, and that would have got the job done. But with 126.012 is fractionally quicker. If he finds 13 thousandths of a second more, he's gone sub 26.
Yeah, it's Valdo Angeloni, fastest in the first sector. As I said, these times are lighting up. People are in the flow. Like we said, they're going to be starting their final laps pretty sharpish as Angeloni's going to cross that second sector. But I expect him to drop off a little bit here. Still pretty good. He's dropped half a second to Siebel, but it's still good.
That's his personal best. This could be for Angeloni. This could see him in the top 5 here very easily. He's got to smarten up this final sector. He's plenty of aggression on the way in through the curbs. How does he attack the final turn? That's nice. Plenty of speed through. That's going to be a strong lap. He's at the 6th position. Really good lap there from Angeloni. He is suddenly proving himself to be, well, the new Jeff Fournier. Fournier came in last year as a bit of a whirling dervish towards the end of the season as a good super sub. Now it's Angeloni. He's the man on form.
Peter Burlak's just left the pit lane, and oh my, is it going to be tight for him to complete this lap? He has to do. No, I don't think he is. I think he's going to miss out by a second, especially with Michael Ayres right in front of him. He needs to get by pronto and then get the, literally this outlap needs to be at racing speed for sure. As Alex Siebel comes into the pit lane, finishes his qualifying session, so a 26.0 is as good as it's going to get for our current championship leader.
Well, can anybody beat that? Because Milan is on a flying lap. Jarl Tyen is about to start his last one from 3rd position. His teammate Peter Burlak looks like he's on a bit of a sharpish lap as well. So, or at least he's going to be, isn't he? Because
Jeff Fournier started his.
Yeah, Fournier started his. Burlak, as you say, is held up by Hutchinson on the outlap, so I don't think he's going to make it to the line, but he is absolutely on it. He's setting a pole position lap at the moment, just trying to get around to the finish line, but I'm not sure he's going to get there in time.
Keep an eye on Milan. Keep an eye on Milan. He's just gone faster than Siebel in the first sector.
He has. He's done a 23.761. The fastest of all in that first sector, of course, is Osvaldo Angeloni. But Borja Milan has a chance to pip Alex Siebel here. We're going to have to watch him through the second sector. Jeff Fournier's gone quicker than Siebel as well. So that's an important one. A 23.743 from Fournier and a 23.742 the last time, of course, from Osvaldo Angeloni. So actually, the man to watch on this lap is Fournier. Fournier could get the pole position here. Milan has not had a great middle sector, though.
No, he pushed a little bit too hard at Cops, and it's one of those corners where you can just push it a bit too far. But Siebel's final sector was not that strong, so keep an eye for Milan, although it doesn't look so great through the chicane there.
As well.
Oh, here goes Milan. Is he going to improve?
No.
Just improves, but doesn't move up position.
It's only by 0.04 of a second, remains second. Watch Fournier. He could jump Burlak here to get himself onto the second row. It's not going to be good enough for pole position, that is for sure, but the top 2 rows are definitely in there. Oh, second! What a final sector for Fournier. That's a beautiful final sector, and he actually jumps his teammate there to get within 0.2 of pole. Now, Jarl Tyen has bailed. Peter Burlak, I don't think, made it over the line.
He did make it over the line.
Oh.
But he didn't. Apparently he didn't. We have heard he didn't.
Well, he's pushing as if he has, so he is going for it anyway. Burlak has come over the line on a 23.799 the first sector. Dennis Jordan is coming in. Jordan improves to 6th, so Jordan has improved to 6th position. Burlak still thinks he's on a flying lap here.
I think he is
going for it.
Ricardo
no, he's not. Now he's messed up. Oh well, unfortunate there.
Place. 9th for Risto. Whew.
Yeah, and again, it's still only 0.4 of a second down, but then you've got to look all the way down to Alex Cooper in 21st position, who is a second off pole position. You have got to be within that second if you want to start in the top 20. That's how competitive it is. Only one driver not setting a lap time in qualifying, and not surprisingly, it's the man with the back of the grid penalty, Ben Horrell. But it's Siebel on pole position from Ricardo Costa, who popped up right at the bitter end there with a second place for Hawkeye. Great to see them that far forward again.
Yeah, that's a really solid time there for Costa. But with Risto, that 4/10 in motorsport is an absolute decade. Like, that is such a large gap to beat your teammate. I know. I've been teammates with Eric in a touring car championship. Eric Strand, obviously two-time ITC champion. He was like a second quicker than me. So, you know, I know that gap, it seems impossible. But when you're at this level, when you're fighting for a championship, Risto Capet, multiple race winner this season already, that 4/10, that is such a large gap, and it doesn't make sense. I don't know what's going on with Risto over the last few rounds, but he is not with it in that car.
Well, interestingly, Liam Duval has only had a 1:28.844 of a lap time, which was 27th place, but he's just asked race control if you can take his last lap, which was a 1:49.4. So all sorts of problems for Liam Duval in that one, and that's an absolute nightmare coming into the race. That really doesn't help in terms of race prep. And Lewis, that is going to be tricky for him starting at the back regardless.
Yeah, it's not the easiest circuit to overtake on. But I did just get a bit of information from a Mr. Mike Pittman to check out the top speeds of the ACR Zack Speed, the Epics, and people like that. Now, there is an interesting point on that, is that the Hawkeye and the Epic are both at least 5 kilometers an hour quicker than the ACR Zack Speed and the Edge Esports. Now, that is interesting, because that could cause quite an interesting race, because that's a gap. For sure. I know 5 kilometers an hour isn't enough to realistically make a move, but it's something for sure, especially when you start adding DRS and tow and things like that into it. That's going to be, that could cause quite a flurry in the race.
So we are about to be joined by the WTF1 viewers, of course, who will be watching along at the same time as warm-up gets underway. An interesting factor, actually, that I've been picking up on the chatter is that a lot of drivers are actually very hot. Now, we haven't normally taken this into account, but the weather wherever they are in Europe, most of them in Europe, of course, is very hot at the moment, about 26, 27 degrees, 28 degrees even at this time of the evening. And a lot of them are actually very hot. And even with air conditioning on full, they are struggling. Now, that's only through qualifying. In the race itself, it's going to get ridiculously hot as they continue to move forward. That's going to be a real knife edge, Lewis, for them to play with.
Yeah, I did a race once. This is when I lived in my old house. It's in the attic. It was, no joke, it was 35 degrees in that room because there was no flow of air. There was nothing. And my computer had been on all day. I remember getting back from college, sort of getting in and being like, oh my God, I don't think I can do this race. It was
so you just did the Malaysian Grand Prix that day.
Yeah. It is honestly, this was back in the days when I'm on a controller. And honestly, it is the same when you're on a wheel because you can barely keep hold. If you're not wearing racing gloves, if you're just doing it, with your hands, you can barely keep hold of the wheel because it's slipping. It's a nightmare. And then you've got just how much it mentally drains you over an hour and 40-minute period. Well, it's going to be tricky for some of them, but they'll be fine.
You say that now. Already there's 2 or 3 who are struggling a little bit. Well, of course, the warm-up is underway. So as we get to our final few bits of preparation in for this next race of the championship, the British Grand Prix, let's look back to 2 weeks ago at the Red Bull Ring to remind ourselves a little bit of what happened in Austria. It is the business end of the season now with the championship fight in full swing, and we come to the Red Bull Ring in Austria. It's damp, it's wet, and it's very unpredictable. And we are racing in the Red Bull Ring. Let's race. Cracking start from Simracing, and it looks to me as though he's completely left Fournier standing. I would not at all be surprised if we are not on this compound for long, Lewis. She's made the mistake into turn 2, and Simracing hands the lead to McGlade. Top 6 change, Dennis Jordan made a mistake out of the final turn, and that's going to be easy pickings for Yuri Kasdorf. This Jordan on the slightly drier line can outfox him, but no, Kasdorf has made the move stick. Flo Gaia has decided enough of this. I'm going to go for a slick tyre. Surely it's too early. dear, oh dear.
Too early.
Well saved by Osvaldo Angeloni. My goodness, that's put a few more grey hairs on his chest. Oh, and Hutchinson's gone off. Oh, goodness me. That was so close for Manuel Martini. Well, Capit has got past. So now it is going to be a rodeo between these two on the circuit. Down the straight, down in the braking zone again. It's Siebel is squeezed.
Oh.
Siebel's gone off. Fournier through to second. That's exactly what we said was going to be the problem if they battled with each other. Fournier needs to back down.
Yeah.
Fournier's gone off. Signed, sealed, delivered for Alex Siebel. So Simracing has actually carried on. He's not pitted. It's there on the inside. Easy target, easy pickings. Alex Siebel rounds the final turn of the Red Bull Ring, and it's 4 out of 8, a 50% strike rate. Alex Siebel wins at the Red Bull Ring in WTF1 Super League. So a 1-2 for the ACR Zakspeed Valiant team, with Alex Siebel beating his teammate Risto Capit over the line in Austria. From Jurnic Simicic, a brilliant third position on his Super League return, or debut, I suppose. Jeff Fournier, Osvaldo Angeloni, and David Feidek in the top 6, with Yuri Kasdorp, Dennis Jordan, Wright Kirk, and Alex Cooper rounding out the top 10. Watko Hoekstra in 11th position, a disaster for Peter Burlak in 12th. The final point scorers, Mark Hutchinson, Tobias Olsen, and Chris Butcher, with retirements from several drivers, including Ben Horrell in the Red Bull Street Fighter, Borja Milan's Epic, the flag-to-flag of Michael Ayers, Ern Yujovski's Adonis, Jarl Tyen, the second of the Edge cars, and then Bart de Vos outside there as well. What that means for the championship basically is that Alex Siebel has a 21-point advantage over his teammate Risto Capit, with Jeff Fournier just 2 points off the 100, Jarl Tyen in 4th position, and Peter Burlak in 5th. 6 points separating them, but starting to look a little bit distant in the team standings. ACR Zakspeed have a commanding advantage now, almost 100 over Edge Esports, with Epic Racing closing in, Evolution and Hawkeye starting to get stronger in this second half of the season. Hello to you on WTF1's Facebook page if you've just joined us. Jake Sanson here. Beside me is Lewis McGlade, and down in the pits on the strategies is James Kirk. It's going to be a really exciting battle. The British Grand Prix, Lewis. From qualifying, Alex Siebel definitely the man on form, but he's got Costa and the two epics of Jeff Fournier and Borja Milan very close to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's no real surprise that it is Siebel up there right at the top. He's won 4 Grand Prix already this season. He's been in the top 2 the last 6 races in a row. So he's a tricky man to beat, but it is doable. He has finished second in 2 of those races, to do different drivers as well. I think this round's going to be quite open. I think we've got a lot of cars that are pretty decent. We were discussing off. Of course, we'll go down to James for more information on this, that the Epic's looking pretty good this round. We should see quite a lot of other teams challenging Alex Siebel for the win today. And we saw that in qualifying. It was still pretty close. Despite there being a 10th of a bit gap, still pretty tight around this circuit, that's for sure.
So this Silverstone circuit, of course, is going to give us some very interesting battles. A lot of drivers in qualifying have set the car up, particularly the likes of the Epic and the Edge drivers, James, for oversteer. The back of the car starting to come out a little bit through Maggots and Beckett. I guess this is one of those circuits where traditionally drivers like it to be just that little bit more loose.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's that Maggots-Beckett section beginning all the way back at Copse as well, where you want a lot of turning. And in the race, I think we're going to be finding maybe Alex Siebel, the ACRs, the Evolutions who've gone for these higher downforce setups, perhaps struggling a bit. It's all fair and well to set a good qualifying lap, but Silverstone is one of those compromise circuits. You need to have decent top speed along with your good turning, and well, we didn't see that top speed from ACR, from Evolution in qualifying. So I'd say watch out for Edge and Epic in particular, because not only do they have that straight line advantage over ACR, but they also have a slight tyre advantage. Of course, each of the teams is allowed to bring their own tyre compounds, and both of these teams, they've brought the Ultra Softs for qualifying, they've brought the Super Softs as they have for the last few races. ACR have gone for the medium compound, however, whereas Edge and Epic, they've gone soft, and we know in particular with Edge, they are very, very good on their tyres. So any change in the strategy, any opportunities opening up, and they may very well take that, and they could provide the spice that we need to maybe see Alex Siebel toppled from his pedestal.
So there's a few interesting dynamics coming into this one, of course, as well. We have a lot of drivers who are wanting to put on a really good show in this one. Difficulty again for the Nordian cars. 12 months ago, Lewis, these were the cars battling the ACR Zack Speeds for the victory. But for the home boys, David Feidick and Alex Cooper, it looks like it's going to be a long day at the office.
Yes, but again, you can never count on strategy. It's one of those circuits where, because of the high tyre wear, you can do stuff with strategy. You can pit maybe one less time, gain yourself 20 seconds. And it is one of those ones where even on worn tyres, I think, had we seen the strategy from Jone Simoncic happen here, rather than, at Austria where you can overtake, if it was here, I reckon you would have seen Simoncic win that race. Because this circuit is so much harder to pass, and you can smartly defend on older tyres as long as you know what you're doing, and I'm sure most of these boys do. That said, speaking to Kirk's point there about high downforce, I remember having a conversation with you, Kirk, and of course, well, I think me and Mitchie were really going at it back in the French Grand Prix in the pre-race about how downforce affects the cars and affects tyre wear. And if you run a higher downforce, if you run a low downforce, you run the risk of scrubbing the tyres a lot more. Of course, you run that with high downforce as well. But high downforce, sometimes, as long as you've got the car set up correctly, it can be a little bit nicer on the tyres, despite the load maybe being a little bit higher. Because you're scrubbing the tyres less, you end up looking after your tyres a little bit more. It's kind of one of those weird ones that kind of comes and flows dependent on what you've done on the setup and how stiff you've set up the car. Because too stiff and you'll scrub anyway. But it's one of those interesting ones that you can kind of see the ones with a higher downforce actually look after their tyres a lot, a lot better than people on low downforce.
It's funny then, actually, because then we might see an equalization of the entire field, making a very open competition, because, as I say, Edge has been in particular very good on its tyres. If it's gone for this lower downforce setup in comparison to ACR, I think, Jake, that we might actually see ACR maybe coming out on top. I think, actually, to be fair, the race start is going to be so important here, because one little mistake from Siebel, that will allow one of the faster cars behind him through, and then even in the DRS, he may very well struggle to get past.
It's very true. We have seen Alex Siebel at his A game most of this season, and it's certainly once we got to round 3, round 4, that's when he really started to canter into position. But this is in this British Grand Prix here at Silverstone, the home of British motorsport, and it is a very important one for Alex Siebel in particular. He needs to have the perfect start. Where is this race effectively going to be won and lost? Is it going to be that first lap, or potentially the first pit stop, James, where we're really going to see who's going to take the victory?
You know what? I think it's going to be a combination of both, Jake. Sorry to sit on the fence on this one, but it's crucial for the faster guy, or for the faster guys, for the guys with the lower wings behind to get in front of those higher wing setups. They've got a supreme advantage there, but then all of a sudden the tyre wear starts to come into play, and we're really going to see, once this first pit stop comes around, whether people are going to be able to go for one less pit stop than each other, or whether the field's actually going to be quite equal.
So undercut will be interesting.
Yes, indeed. Undercut is definitely going to be an interesting factor. I'm glad you picked up on that. It will be a very tricky battle, and it's going to be quite difficult to see who's going to get the upper hand. But as you say, a lot of this race is going to be played out on the start. We go around for our formation lap as the battle begins. So let's talk you through the grid in its entirety. Alex Siebel for ACR Zack Speed is once again in pole position, with Ricardo Costa for the Hawkeye Racing number 3 in second on the grid. The two Epics in their new British-inspired livery, the red, white and blue, are third and fourth on the grid. Jeff Fournier ahead of Borja Milan. Jarl Tyan in the Edge Esports is on the 3rd row in 5th position. Alongside him in the Evolution car is Dennis Jordan. Peter Burlak is in the 2nd of the Edge Esports cars. They've got to do better this time. From 7th on the grid he goes. Osvaldo Angeloni still having a cracking run. 8th position in his 2nd race of the season. Then Risto Capit, only 9th for this one. 0.4 of a second away from his teammate in qualifying. Alongside him, his best ever grid position, Manuel Martini, is 10th in the Hawkeye. Michael Ayres, another fantastic qualifying in 11th place in the flag to flag. Tom Parker returns to Evolution and he is in 12th position, replacing Jonic Simičić from last time out. Mark Hutchinson in the 2nd of the flag to flags in a brilliant 13th place, along with a frustrated Yuri Kazdorp in 14th place in the Adonis. David Fidek still struggling on in 15th position in the Nordsian. Dino Paolini in the Mesurik is there in 16th position as well. Flo Gaia in the Red Bull Street Fighter, difficult season, but he will not quit in 17th place. Wright Kilk in the 1st of the Eval cars, not as good as they have been, but 18th place will do for now. Matthew Williams in the 2nd of the Adonis is in 19th position in his first appearance in WTF1 Super League of 2018. Wopko Hoekstra alongside him in the 2nd of the Mesuriks in 20th. Argo Tida in the Eval is 21st. Alex Cooper, the British racer in the Nordsian number 2 car, alongside him in 22nd. Menno Klont for Storm Racing is 23rd on the grid. Pedro Gomez in the 2nd of the Red Archers is there in 24th. For Madcape, it is George Sutton in 25th position on the grid, with the Brookval, Liam Duval struggling in 26th on the grid in the Storm Racing car. Tobias Olsen lines up 27th in the Madcape, hoping for a charge from the back, and it's going to be likewise for the Red Bull Street Fighter number 2 car, the 11, I should say, in actuality, of Ben Horrell, who took a back of the grid penalty and therefore didn't set a qualifying time. Siebel, Costa, Fournier, Milan, Tyan and Jordan at the front end. This is going to be a critical start.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those ones where you've got a very, very short run into turn 1 into Abbey Corner. So you don't, the start is almost like it's less important because you don't have that huge run. With Alex Siebel, he's going to be on the outside of the corner, carrying the momentum through. You've got to watch out, though, for Fournier, who might carry the momentum around the outside of Costa and go up into 2nd position early and then attack Siebel almost straight away into the complex.
WTF1 Super League British Grand Prix here live on the GPVWC YouTube channel as well as WTF1 Facebook. Jake Sanson alongside Lewis McGlade and in the pits James Kirk. This is going to be a fascinating Grand Prix. Alex Siebel on the pole from Ricardo Costa, Jeff Fournier, Borja Milan, Jarl Tyan and Dennis Jordan on the preceding 2 rows. This one's going to be tough for Alex Siebel at the start. He needs to get it absolutely textbook. The lights come on. When they extinguish, we're racing. Charge! Let's race at Silverstone. Cracking getaway from Siebel. Exactly how he needed it to go. Absolutely perfect start from Jarl Tyan as well. He has jumped one of the epics and initially holds that 4th position on the way through. Ricardo Costa's going for Siebel around the outside in a farm. This is going to be tough to hold on to, but he has done so. Siebel holds the line. Jeff Fournier's already starting to get hungry on the back of Costa, but as they go through in the first lap, Capit's already made up a place or 2, tucking in behind Peter Burlak. Osvaldo Angeloni slipped to 10th place behind Michael Ayres, and it looks like a relatively clean start other than Cooper, Tida and Sutton. Everybody else is still through in together, but there's more offs in the left-hander at Brooklands. There's one of the Hawkeyes gone off there. Now that looks to me like Manuel Martini. He's rejoined at a rather awkward point as well in there with
he's just spun out on the back of Gaia.
And that's tagged the Red Archer.
Oh, that was an unfortunate one. He got tagged a little bit by, I think it's one of the Edinises going through Brooklands. And then he just kind of went out onto the grass, had no grip, rejoined into the middle of the road, no fault of his own. Realistically, there was not much he could do in that scenario. And then as they're going through, he just caught the back of one of the cars. And it was Florian Guy who caught the back of as well. Florian Guy's had a good start.
Well, from those two, absolutely appalling getaway from their point of view. Borja Milan is already going wheel to wheel with Jarl Tyan as we go into the final chicane of the Vale, and Milan has got himself back in a position in front of Tyan. Then it's Jordan, Burlak, Capit, Angeloni, Ayres and Hutchinson. Tom Parker slots into 12th. The final points positions for the moment are Kazdorp, Fidek and Gaia, but it's absolutely brilliant for Alex Siebel. He needed to get in front. He needed to establish authority. He's done that, Lewis. Tyan's gone off. Yep, Tyan has gone off there, and it looks to me as though Dennis Jordan's going to out-drag him around the outside of farm and into village. So Jordan manages to get that site beautifully lined up. Peter Burlak there in 7th position. This is not a great start for the Edge team, Lewis. They really need to respond quickly, and Tyan's going for broke on Jordan.
Yeah, he's going to go around the outside of Brooklyn. He's going to try it, maybe go for a cut back. It's just not going to quite work there. looks into Luffield a little bit, but not too much. It's Brooklands is one of the corners you can make it stick around the outside if you are brave enough. Tyan at the moment thinking we're on lap 2 here, lads. Let's hold back as we head up into Cops. But that car looks a lot quicker in a straight line than the Evolution Motorsports car.
So if there's an opportunity to tag onto the back when DRS opens on lap 3, of course, this is when things are going to get particularly interesting. But for the moment, Dennis Jordan holds on to 5th place. Jarl Tyan potentially in danger of causing a bit of a roadblock to his teammate Peter Burlak. Capit's there in 8th from Angeloni, and Michael Ayers and Mark Hutchinson in the 2 flag-to-flag cars, 10th and 11th at the moment. Tom Parker still there in 12th with Kazdok, Fidek and Gaia. Lucky to still be in the points flow, Gaia. In there in front of Hoekstra, Kilk, Paulini, Duval, Williams, Olsen, Klont and Horrell, with Alex Cooper trying to get close to him. Horrell sends one up the inside of Menno. Klont into Stowe corner, and he's still there a little further back as they bang wheels, and Ben Horrell has to concede for the moment, but good racing in the back of the pack as well as in the front. Ricardo Costa is under some severe pressure from Jeff Fournier, but is not able to run with Alex Siebel. As far as Siebel is concerned, it's business as usual.
Yeah, all these people that are in the traffic, as soon as they're heading through corners like Abbey, like Cops, Maggots, Beckers and Chapel, all this high-speed stuff, they have lost all of the air on the front end of that car. And so they are going to be scrubbing their tyres left, right and centre, which is great for Costa, realistically, in this fight against Fournier. Siebel's just almost in a world of his own at the moment. He's 1.2 seconds ahead after 2 laps in the sector. So he's doing absolutely everything he needs to do. It's no real surprise considering it's Siebel. But Costa in this battle with Fournier. Fournier is going to be absolutely ripping his tyres to shreds at the moment.
And that's where he can be definitely considered vulnerable. He is now slotting in behind Ricardo Costa, hoping he can use the draft through Maggots and Beckett's to make a little bit more time come to him. I wonder, is there a slight bit of lag with Fournier? Has he got a little bit of a moment there in the middle?
He was. Always going to get a move on Costa, though. He's going to make this one stick around the outside of Stowe, for sure.
Yeah, Costa made a mistake through Beckett's, and Fournier's going to try and run right round the outside. He's through. Now, Fournier's got a little bit of lag. That's a slight problem and a bit of a headache. He's just got to try and drive around it and hope that it doesn't become a terminal problem. That would be a real problem for Fournier, especially at this critical point in the championship, as Costa locked up big time on the way into the Vale chicane. He was lucky to get away with that one. Borja Milan in 4th position, now with an opportunity to tighten up. Dennis Jordan in 5th from Tyan, Burlak and Capit. Angeloni is right in there for 9th place, but Michael Ayers is going with him. So great battles all the way through. Michael Ayers has actually overshot there and has to now rejoin tight in behind Osvaldo Angeloni. He did exactly the right thing there, Lewis. He overshot through that first corner, but he managed to filter his way back in without losing time, certainly without losing positions, but didn't gain any either. So he should be fine with that.
Yeah, it's all about sort of kind of keeping aware of what's going on, not trying to gain anything from doing so, making sure that everyone knows what you're trying to do on your rejoin. Basically making it clear. With Jeffrey Fournier though, and that lag, I mean, Costa was obviously put off a little bit by the fact that Fournier had a lag issue, because a lot of the time when you're racing, your main reference is actually the car directly in front of you. It's why you'll see a lot of people overtake someone and then start making a couple of mistakes, because they're just trying to get into the rhythm of not having a car in front of them. It's a standard reference point. You have it a lot in touring car racing. So Costa, basing his reference off of Fournier, would have just seen him lagging about a bit and been like, whoa, let's not do that. But Fournier, this issue, it's not like, I think it was Boyer Milan back in the French Grand Prix where it was just all over the place.
He was,
Fournier, it's basically it's unraceable. You can't race against it. But it did drop earlier in the race, so maybe Fournier will get that back under control. Hopefully, Baguette bounces back.
Yeah, it's more noticeable actually in Maggots and Beckett's. It's not really a big issue visually anywhere else around the circuit. It's not terribly noticeable. You have to be looking for it to spot it. In Maggots and Beckett's, that's where it really does start to become more obvious. But Costa in 3rd position, settling into a rhythm again, hoping that Borja Milan is not going to line him up. But Milan does look very comfortable. He was very strong in qualifying. He does look pretty nailed. I think this is one of those weekends where the 2 Epic cars do not really have much of a difference between them. There have been some races where Fournier's been stronger, others where Milan has looked the stronger. This time, they look pretty much dead level, Lewis, and that's where they're really going to have a good opportunity to bring home 2 cars on the podium.
Yeah, they've not, at least as far as I'm aware, they've not had a podium since that win back in Australia. Obviously, that was a long time ago now.
Yep, all the way back on March the 1st.
And there is that potential that maybe a double podium's on the cards, not trying to, jinx or anything. But they are looking damn strong at the moment. Jeffrey Fournier actually matching Siebel on pace here.
So there is a good battle at the moment as Tom Parker is trying to make a move on the inside of Stowe corner on Mark Hutchinson. Dives up the inside. That's the Tom Parker we know. He's the most experienced driver in the WTF1 Super League. He's been racing since 2010 at this level, on and off. He's basically the Rubens Barrichello of the championship. He knows exactly everything there is to know about this championship as a driver. And that was a good bit of an overtake from him there in the Evolution. Clearly, he is still getting an awful lot of pleasure out of his motorsport, despite the fact he's not running at the very front of the field. But Tom Parker, he missed the last round at the Red Bull Ring. Jonic Simičić proved what could be done with that car, grabbing it onto the podium. And Tom looks a lot more fired up this time.
Yeah, I bumped into Tom Parker and Cameron Brewster when we were at Thruxton for the British Touring Car Championship, and he was talking about how he just wanted to get back into motorsport. We discussed some of those Super League memories, of course, being so close to the win for midnight at Hungary in 2014. Unfortunately, a disconnection took him out of that race, despite him looking in a very comfortable position for the victory. He is a strong driver, and he's well experienced across many disciplines across sim racing. And so bringing him into the Super League outfit again, he's going to be good, especially on home soil. He wants to do well. I would be surprised if he wasn't in the top 10 in a few laps' time. He's closing in on Ayres now.
Right, James, let's have a look at strategy. How are things currently playing out from where you're sitting? What can you tell us?
So the big what if, I think, in the top 15 is going to be Florian Geyer, actually. He's, of course, started on the super soft tyres in complete stark contrast to all the people around. So he's going to be looking to go a little bit longer. Now, we were discussing the overcut, undercut. How much of an effect is that going to have on the race? Well, Florian Geyer is going to be the guy to see, well, how far is it going to be able to go? Is he going to lose a lot of time? He's doing very well to hold off Hoekstra at the moment. I'm also looking up at the front in terms of Fournier and whether he's utilising those ultra soft tyres a little bit more aggressively than Siebel. I tell you what, Alex is looking impervious at the moment. He's really just controlling this race. And I think if Epic, if Hawkeye, maybe even if Edge want to try and get one up on the guys ahead of them, and more in particular Alex Siebel, I think they're going to have to pull the trigger first, because at the moment, Alex Siebel's very comfortable. Take it from me, I've been watching him for the last couple of laps.
I'll tell you what, the danger man for me at the moment in the top three is actually Dennis Jordan. He's in a decent position, okay? He's 5 seconds off the lead, but he's holding off the Edge Esports cars. And we thought coming into this round, Lewis, that Edge might be a little bit stronger based on, you know, the worst case scenario factor last time out 2 weeks ago at the Red Bull Ring when they were not in the position they needed to be in any shape or form. This was a race they needed to be strong, but Dennis Jordan is actually proving to be a real thorn in the side of both Tyne and Burlack. They're losing heaps of time to the leaders.
Yeah, and they'll be losing heaps of their tyres as well, trying to follow Dennis Jordan so close. Dennis is doing an excellent job at the moment in that 5th position. He's just kind of keeping it controlled, keeping it focused on what's happening in the race now. And that's the thing is with this kind of Grand Prix, you need to keep yourself focused on what's happening now and not pushing too hard. As Boy Milan right on the back of Ricardo Costa, that is for sure. He wants to get by and wants to get those both Epic cars onto the podium in that brand new livery.
Well, for anybody who's keeping an eye on Alex Siebel up front and going, well, how's his teammate Risto Capit doing? He was actually faster than him in the first sector last time around. So Capit does have the speed. Osvaldo Angeloni once again goes purple in the 3rd sector. He's so strong in that last part of the lap, just a couple of seconds down the road from Risto Capit. But Capit, again, is really struggling in this position because he just doesn't seem to be able to get the momentum onto the back of the Edge Esports cars. You know, he's in exactly the same equipment as Siebel, but he just doesn't seem as dialed in as his German teammate, Lewis. And that's effectively where he's going to start hemorrhaging points to those rivals around him.
Yeah, he pulled off a decent drive, went from 4th to 2nd in the previous round. But obviously we saw back in the French Grand Prix, he qualified 7th, ended up finishing, I think it was 8th. In that, he's currently running in that 8th position. I don't know what's going on with Risto Capit.
Do you know what I think it is? I think he can't handle running in a crowd quite the same way that other drivers can.
Yeah, see, I also struggle with it. But the thing is, because he can handle one-on-one, he just, yeah, maybe the crowd thing's just not really with it. Boy Milan right at the back of Ricardo Costa.
Let's see him throw it up the inside. That's nicely done. Costa's going to try and hold it back to the undercut, but that's beautifully done from Milan. Lined him up nicely. That was a Hail Mary pass, if you like, from Costa. I'm not going to challenge you. There's a long race to go here. And even if it can sit behind you, there's a good opportunity for some decent points. But that double podium for Epic is looking even more likely as Osvaldo Angeloni becomes the first driver from the leading bunch to come into the pits. James, is that about on schedule, lap 8?
I'd wager to say it's a little early, honestly, but if anyone was going to pit early, it would be Angeloni, because he's been running in that traffic for a little while. It'll be good to go on to a new set of tyres. He goes on to the super softs, actually, so he's going to go for a little bit of a longer stint now. I can imagine that he's going to burn up these tyres for the next couple of laps, hoping that he fires a number of people into the pits in response.
So what sort of a lap do we think we can expect to see the likes of the Siebels, Fourniers, Milans and Costas up front? When can we see them pitting, do you reckon?
I'd say a safe bet would probably be lap 11, roughly around there. That's a safe bet. But as I say, the thing with this field is when you have someone like Angeloni pitting, with how close everyone's been as well. I mean, the top 9 are still within 10 seconds. That might throw strategies off kilter, and it's why I was saying those harder compounds that we were talking about, the mediums, the softs, the differentiation between like your ACRs and your edges, your epics and your evolutions. All of a sudden, they'll be thinking on the pit wall, oh, maybe we should go a little bit longer on this next stint because we don't want to lose too much time, because you'll watch Angeloni now. He's going to light up those timesheets.
Well, interestingly, we've got one of the epics in. That's Fournier. Fournier's blinked first. Now, that is interesting because actually Fournier was quicker than Alex Siebel in the middle sector of that lap. So I wonder if Fournier was preparing. Right, I think I might be able to go for him on the undercut. He's only 1.9 behind him at the last split. So Fournier actually decided to go early, as Kirk is going to pit as well. But Fournier completely out of sequence with everybody else, pits a lap early. And as they go into lap 10, Fournier is going to need to join in exactly the right part of the circuit. He's got the Meserix in there, and he's going to have to try and hold on in front of Hoekstra. The back end kicks out. That's critical for Fournier. He rejoins in 14th, tucked up behind Flo Gaia, but ahead of the Meserix. That was crucial.
Yeah, that's not perfect, but they did find a gap, and they just managed to slot him into there. I don't, especially since Flo is now on the used super softs. I mean, as I say, it's lap 10 of 52 now, so even though they go longer than the ultra softs, they're going to be burning. I mean, you can see he's already on the back of him. Curious to see him on the soft tires though as well. That's their hardest compound of tyre available, Epic. So going to be interesting to see the rest of the strategy for this race as he goes up the inside of Cops.
Now that's brave, but that is Fournier on Gaia, and that is how strong Jeff Fournier in the Epic is compared to Flo Gaia in the Red Bull Street Fighter. Still lagging a little bit, you can see there through Maggots and Beckett, but he's just leaving Flo Gaia standing. Look at that, he's just disappeared as into the pits comes his teammate, Milan, Costa, Tyan is in as well. So too is Risto Capit. They're all flying into the pits now. Michael Ayres decides to go likewise, as too into the pits comes Tom Parker. So he is the evolution that continues on. Sorry, his teammate is the evolution that continues on. Now, the big question is, where's Fournier going to get back out in relation to those that have pitted? Because obviously Ricardo Costa is going to be quite up close to the sharp end. Milan.
Oh, crash in pit lane.
That is a big problem. Into the pits, there has been a crash. Now that's Hoekstra, that's in there. Hoekstra, Ayres, and Matthew Williams, all involved in that one. That you don't see that too often in WTF1 Super League, but those three have got that very wrong. Now, that's going to be a tricky one for the race officials to sort out, as Manuel Martini has retired from the race. That's the first retirement of the Grand Prix, and I would love to see what happened to end his race.
It's no surprise there. His car was severely crabbing after that incident with Pedro Gomez on the rejoin was sketchy. I'll say that much, but yeah, a real shame for Martini because he had a good qualifying.
Now, we're going to need to keep an eye on the race leader because, of course, Alex Siebel is going to be not far away from the pit lane entry. Surely he needs to respond to those guys who have pitted and come in. Yes, he does. So Alex Siebel will pit from the lead. Now, we need to be keeping an eye on Fournier, who is down the hanger straight at the moment. Siebel should get out in front of him, but how well has Fournier adapted to these tyres on the way out of the pits? It's going to be very tight, actually, because Siebel is not as far ahead as Fournier as he would like to be at the pit stop.
I think Fournier's got the race lead here, actually.
Well, Pete Burlock does at the moment, actually. I will say excellent gamesmanship from Dennis Jordan. He kind of kept on the racing line as here we go with that race. Is it going to be
Fournier? It's going to be close. Here on the way out of farm, though, because he's going to be very close to the back of Siebel, and Fournier's going to be fired up. They've got Yuri Kasdorp in front of them. This could be the race lead because Siebel is racing Yuri Kasdorp. Peter Burlack's gone longer than anybody. Kasdorp is in second, Siebel in third. In front of Fournier, he's got to make this overtaking move pretty sharpish because he doesn't want to be backed into Fournier. Great pit work from the ACR Zaxspeed team, but brilliant strategy from the Epic guys. And Fournier, he's made up half of the deficit that he had going into the pits, Lewis. This is now a proper race between these two as Siebel goes for Kasdorp.
Oh, but he backs out of it. That's interesting. I did not think he would. I thought he was going to go. I thought he was just going to go for it. He needs to get this move done because Jeffrey Fournier is closing onto the back of him on a softer compound of tyre in comparison to Alex Siebel, who's out on the super softs. But Alex Siebel is going to get past Kasdorp as soon as he can, surely. As Peter Burlack's coming up towards Stowe Corner, he should surely be entering pit lane this time by.
Well, hang straight. And it's going to be really interesting to battle away here as we continue on. Siebel has now gone round the outside of Kasdorp. Kasdorp pits. Fournier is through, so that's not bad going, and it's a very tricky situation they now find themselves in because Siebel has got a bit of breathing space between himself and Fournier, so it's as you were, but battle lines are drawn because Epic definitely has an opportunity to move their way forward.
Yeah, but look at how far Siebel's pulled out.
But that's not a surprise to me, though. I mean, Fournier, it's not even Epic. Fournier's really put the cat amongst the pigeons here. They're the only, he's the only driver in the top 5 to have gone on to the soft compound tyre. Everyone else in that top 5 is on super softs, and completing the top 10, you've now got alternative strategies. Olsen and Fidek, they're on the medium and soft tyres respectively. Everyone choosing the super soft in these early stages. I'm wondering what Epic's thinking is here with Fournier, especially since he's splitting the strategy with Borja.
Fastest lap of the race comes from Borja Milan. He does a 1:28.9. That's very interesting, I have to say, because we thought that Milan was going to be quick, but he's definitely starting to make up a bit of a deficit now, make up the gap to Jeff Fournier in second position. Ooh. So it's going to be a very interesting battle for certain because Milan is closing in. Costa's still there in fourth position. Peter Burlack in fifth. So Burlack has definitely made a lot of time by staying out that little bit longer. He has jumped Jordan and his teammate Jarl Tyen as Risto Capit now tucks up behind Jarl Tyen. Next on the road is actually Tobias Olsen, who I'm fairly sure has yet to stop.
Yeah, he's on the medium compound.
So Olsen, yes, he's there in front of David Fidek, who is in 10th position. Now, I'm fairly sure Fidek has stopped. So that just shows again. So the Nordstrom strategy has put David Fidek in net 9th position. Now, this is a great drive from David Fidek, and very much like the Fidek we are used to seeing in WTF1 Super League. He's looking like getting back to his best again.
It's definitely one of those races that comes down to strategy. That is for sure. And yeah, Fidek getting into the top 10 there, purely based on, well, not purely based on strategy, but on good driving, consistent driving. And timing your pit stop to perfection, and also, to be fair, a bit of luck when it comes to traffic when you exit your pit stop. But yeah, it's a solid job now. If I was the Epic boys, though, I'd be telling Jeffrey Fournier to maybe be moving aside at some point, because Boy Milan is definitely firing on all cylinders at the moment on those super soft tyres. It's purely based on strategy, and you don't want to hold each other up at the moment. But I would probably be considering switching my drivers around.
So I'll tell you what, I just need to mention, by the way, we forgot about one man, Osvaldo Angeloni. He had to serve a drive-through penalty for failing to brake for the pit lane early enough, and so he's had to go through the pits, and he's come out well down the order.
Yep, 21st position and out of the points. That's a real deficit for Osvaldo Angeloni.
Oh, P7, yeah, Risto Capit and Jarl Tyen. Risto needs to get this move done. He's got a lower top speed in comparison round the outside of Stowe. What a sensational move there for Risto Capit.
Now that is the Risto Capit we know. Brilliant there on Jarl Tyen. He absolutely nailed him on the outside line. Only the really top-grade drivers will try a move like that, let alone pull it off. And Risto Capit has not only got past Jarl Tyen in spectacular fashion.
Crash at the start-finish!
Oh, that's
Tobias
a big
Olsen.
That is Tobias Olsen, having had a bit of a moment there. So, well, what happened in that one? Because he was battling away with Tom Parker. And as they came across the start-finish line, he chopped across on Parker and hit the ball. I'm afraid from Tobias Olsen, that is the kind of move you really cannot afford to do.
No, it was. See, this is the thing about defensive driving, is about proactive and reactive defensive driving, and that was a reactive move. And now he's lost his front wing. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that say he moved over when Tom was already moving into that spot, and you just cannot do that. Not at these speeds, for sure. Yeah, it's a bit too aggressive from the parent, maybe, but yeah, Tobias Olsen lost his front wing, and that's cause and effect of that.
I'm afraid Tobias Olsen really is, in my opinion, that's on Tobias. I'm afraid the Swede is the architect of his own demise there, really. We are at lap 15 of this British Grand Prix, about to go into lap 16. Jake Sanson, Lewis McGlade, and James Kirk on the WTF1 Super League British Grand Prix commentary duty, and it is Alex Siebel out in front of Borja Milan in second position. We missed that. They've switched positions. Fournier is now third.
Definitely the smart thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, Milan definitely seems to be the faster driver at the moment. So from their point of view, I suppose basically they are just going with what seems to be playing the better percentages. Milan is obviously gaining more time over the course of the race, Lewis. So just from that point of view, if they want to bring two cars home on the podium, it makes more sense to do it.
If you want to challenge Siebel in a Grand Prix like this, you need your team to be working in a fully cohesive state. And that is where they're kind of at the moment. They aren't holding each other up. You know, it's you do that, you do what you're on, I'll do what I'm on. You know, we'll figure it out when we get to the checkered flag. And they're trying to they're just trying to out-strategize Alex Siebel in any way that they can. And at the moment, maybe it doesn't look like it's working, but, you know, come back to us in 30 laps and we'll see. But this team, you sometimes to take on someone like Alex Siebel in a car as good as the ACR Zach Speed, you need two bullets in the gun. And that's exactly what Epic have got at the moment.
So with Alex Siebel leading the way, Borja Milan in second position, Fournier third from Costa, Burlak, and then Dennis Jordan in the top six. Then it's Capit, Tyen, and David Feidek. Now that's where the next battle is going to be, because Feidek is going to sweep past Jarl Tyen. Where is Jarl Tyen's pace? The Edge driver is just really, really struggling. He's coming into the pits. Now, James, is there anything we need to be worried about with Jarl Tyen as Ben Horrell parks the car?
We really should be worried because he's only been on these tyres for 5 laps. I'm wondering whether there's an electronic or in-person problem with that car.
His car's pulling to one side. If you watch his steering wheel, it's pulling to one side. I don't know where he's had contact, but that car is definitely... he's got right hand down on that car, that's for sure.
Yet another big problem for the Edge Esports team at the critical point in the race. Jarl Tyen slips out of the points. Now, this is an absolute disaster for the Norwegian, who, of course, took his first Grand Prix win at Monaco in WTF1 Super League in spectacular fashion. But now they are really struggling, and it just doesn't look like the same team that got that strategy sorted that is here at Silverstone, and it's a real knife edge of a problem for them to be in now. Siebel leads the way from Milan and Fournier, and that now, with Tyen out of luck, that puts Costa to 4th, Burlak, Jordan, and Risto Capit. David Feidek in 8th position in front of Yuri Kasdorp. Actually, Kasdorp going that little bit longer on the first part of the strategy has really given him a boost, because he's now there in 9th in front of Tom Parker. This is good teamwork from Adonis, Lewis, to put him up into the top 10 on merit.
And he's on the mediums as well, which is a very interesting one. That is a harder compound than anyone around it. It's an interesting one.
Well, you may remember, Lewis, actually, drivers that can make that kind of compound last a bit longer. James, what can you tell us?
Well, we saw that in France. This is classic Kasdorp. He actually started at the back of the grid in that race, and he was able to come home in the top 10. So if Adonis are going to be looking to pull off another sort of strategy, I mean, obviously we can't say, oh, well, he's started in the middle of the pack, so he'll finish on the podium. He might do. We'll wait and see. But interesting that they're going for the medium in these early stages, very much mirroring the likes of Nordchen and Epic with Fournier to go a little bit longer and see whether they can't do what Burlak did with the first pit stop phase, which is perform the overcut, rarely seen in the Super League these days.
It's one that can definitely work, especially if you go onto the mediums at this point. I think this is what Fournier is also trying to do. If you can try and cut out a pit stop That's a 20-second gain. 20 seconds put Yuri Kasdorp into the lead of the race. Obviously, I'm not saying that he is in fact going to win the British Grand Prix. I just don't think that's possible. Sorry. But moving up from 9th position, maybe challenging for a podium. Maybe. You'll have to wait and see how that strategy unfolds.
I've just been keeping an eye on Jeff Fournier because we obviously had that little bit of an issue with his lag earlier. It seems to be improving, so I'm not sure that's going to be a long-term difficulty for Jeff Fournier anymore. It has got significantly better. It only seems to be now really, again, apparent at Copse Corner this time. It was at Maggots and Beckett where it was quite obvious. Now it's only really Copse Corner where it's starting to be a little bit of a visual difficulty. But Siebel, 3 seconds clear of Borja Milan, and it definitely looks as though swapping those cars around, so Milan's in front of Fournier, that was the sensible move, because clearly Milan is quicker than Fournier long-term, Lewis. 2 seconds he has gained on his French teammate.
Yeah, that'll all be down to the tyre compound. Super soft boy in Milan, softs for Jeffrey Fournier. And yeah, despite that that internet issue potentially, you know, almost being rectified, although we say that he hits 300 ping going into Brooklands, which is not what you want. His one thing that's not shifted with his internet is his pace, because he's not that slow, but he's also not that quick. Again, could come down to a tyre compound. Obviously, Ricardo Costa is definitely catching, despite only being 1,000th difference on the previous lap. Overall, over the last few laps, Ricardo Costa has definitely been catching for that podium position.
Well, we've seen a lot of races. I'm looking a bit further down the field. We've seen a lot of races for Flo Gaia, the Red Bull Street Fighter, where bad luck has put him out of contention before the races even got going. So that's obviously stymied their development. This is the first time, really, over the course of the season in the dry, when Flo Gaia has been in a good position, has worked his way forward and actually had a car underneath him that can give him some decent points. He's still struggling to hold it in front of the Mesuriks of Dino Paolini and Wopke Hoekstra, but at least this time, Flo Gaia is able to mount a challenge, and basically they are several races behind on their development work, which would have been happening, of course, in the first couple of races in the 2018 season. But look at his lines compared to the other drivers out there. He's trying very different tricks, Lewis, to keep this car working well for him.
That wasn't about speed. That was about intentionally breaking the draft from Paolini. Paolini didn't bite, didn't come over that end of the circuit. He was like, you know what, I'm just going to do my own thing. I look pretty much quicker than you at the moment anyway. But yeah, that was just to break that slipstream, to try and basically negate a move before it's even been thought of, which is smart driving from Florian. It's something which, you know, you can see from an experienced driver of his stature. And yeah, he was a hot topic prior to this event, obviously with his experience in Super League and how much that team's been struggling. It's been the case for the entire season, realistically. It's been a topic of conversation. But if there's someone that can bring that car home in the points here at the British Grand Prix, it's definitely Florian. Obviously, it can't be Ben Horrell at the moment. He's out of the race. But Florian, I reckon you can see some points coming out of that car this evening.
Well, Burlack and Jordan looks like it could be the next major battle out on circuit. Burlack's got half a second on Dennis Jordan as they come down the hangar straight, and they're not too far away from Ricardo Costa. What's the betting, Lewis, that these two still have a part to play in this battle for the podium? Because with Fournier going a little bit further, Costa's still a major player for me. These two, Burlack and Jordan, could have a say in that final step of the podium.
Maybe. I say it. The actual depth of strategy here and what you can do. It's not just about what compound you're on, it's about the distance you go. We saw this at the French Grand Prix. It was Peter Burlack on the, I think it was the Ultra Soft or the softest compound that they had, in comparison to Alex Siebel, who I believe was on the soft at the time. Alex Siebel destroyed his tyres because he was pushing those soft tyres much harder than the Ultra Softs are being pushed. It's one of those odd compromises. But yeah, so it all depends on how you drive on those tyres rather than what compound you're on, which is quite an interesting one that we're at.
Okay, we're not too far away from the half-distance point. James, what have you been keeping an eye on?
Well, the thing that's just popped up for me is Mark Hutchinson, who's on the medium tyre, the medium compound tyre. He's just set the purple final sector. So, if anything, this is proving to me that we're starting to see a real crossover period between the softer compounds, the super softs at this point in the race, and the softer medium compounds. Those super softs are starting to wear a little bit, and I think we're going to be seeing our second pit stop phase beginning, I want to say, the next 5 to 7 laps or so. As to what tyres people go on from there, we'll wait and see. But I really think that Kasdorp might only have to pit once more. If he's comfortable on those medium tyres, I don't think there's any reason why he shouldn't go on to another set of mediums in, say, 10, 15 laps or so, maybe 20 laps even, make his way to the end of the race. He could genuinely be a contender for the podium at this point. We're talking of Burlak and Jordan, sure. Kasdorp's going to be gaining 20 seconds on them if he is able to make this one stick.
And looking at his lap times, actually, James, he is very, very strong on this set of mediums as well. This is not a long-term, this is not one of those situations where you've just got to hope that you keep up with them. He's not only keeping up with them, he is doing some very good sector times.
Well, like I say, it's the importance of this crossover period. We actually see Wright Kirk coming into the pits, as does Matthew Williams. So we're beginning to see these super soft runners coming in now, let alone in 5-6 laps time, as I was predicting. I really think we should be putting Kasdorp as the dark horse ahead of Burlak and Jordan at this point.
So Kasdorp is currently in 9th position, 21 seconds off the back of Siebel, but by the calculations we've got, Kasdorp is only likely to make one more pit stop, whereas some of the guys in front of him might be going for 2, and certainly going for a different tyre strategy, as Kasdorp runs a little bit wide at Copse Corner, trying to stay with David Feidek. Feidek is again looking much stronger in this race than he has done in previous ones, in 8th position, just one place ahead of Kasdorp. It's tough to call him as a potential podium runner, Lewis, but top 6 is definitely on the cards if Feidek keeps making these gains.
Capit will be absolutely screaming down his microphone, "Pit, please pit Feidek." Because that is, if Feidek comes down the pit lane, as much as he'll lose the benefit that he's getting from the DRS, it will help him on tyre wear, it will help him on overall lap time across the lap, and it will make him a bit more balanced and comfortable on his own strategy. Tom Parker heads down the pit lane. We'll head to James. I know what's happening there.
And Ricardo Costa in 4th position. We're getting a report that Costa's tyres have started to fall away. He's made a big mistake through the first sector and has got Burlak and Jordan right on him. We could see some wheel-to-wheel shenanigans now as they come through Brooklands up towards Luffield and in through the long sweeping right. Costa's got to maintain his position here on this lap, and this could help all of the drivers behind, not just Burlak and Jordan. Capit could gain a little bit of momentum. Feidek and Kasdorp likewise. Costa may be about to lose his podium and bring a few other drivers into the game. It's not Costa's podium yet, of course, because he's in 4th position, but any chance of grabbing one could be exacerbated, Lewis, by struggling on what could potentially be his in-lap on tyres that seem to be falling away.
Yeah, he's definitely struggling. You can see that through Maggots, Beckers and Chapel. I'd expect Peter Burlak's going to try and move down to Stowe Corner as long as he gets that DRS hooked up. The Hawkeye looked pretty good in a straight line. It might be a late move here for Peter Burlak. Doesn't decide to go for it. But I would suggest we can see Costa down pit lane this time by. Indeed he does.
There he goes. Well predicted, Lewis. You saw that one coming a mile off. And Costa boxes from P4. He needed to do that because his tyres would not have gone another lap. Now, what does this mean in terms of strategy, James? Where do you go if you're going to pit before everybody else?
Generally, you want to go and use the advantage while you have it. So going on to a softer compound will be the way. As Kasdorp, apparently.
Kasdorp has gone off the road into the pit lane.
Oh, he's lost his front wing, I think.
He has lost his front wing, so this is a disaster for Kasdorp in terms of his strategy. Yeah, he has spun it on the way. He was trying to make a move on Feidek, and he had got him lined up. So that's an interesting move there from Kasdorp. He had got the move essentially done through Stowe, but he just lost the back end of the car over the bump halfway through Stowe. Back end of the car came around, and he managed to get the car stopped, but not before hitting the wall and losing that front nose cone. So, well, there goes Kasdorp's chance of bagging that podium as a dark horse. What a shame, James Kirk. And that's ruined his afternoon.
It's going to need more than a plastic surgeon to fix that one, isn't it? That's a real shame for Yuri Kasdorp. And after we were building him up as well, the true curse of the commentator in effect. But going back to Ricardo Costa, he's kind of given me a bit more, belief in me calling the strategies here, because like I was saying, you want to be using the undercut to your biggest advantage. You don't want to be going onto the hardest tyre if you're pitting earlier, unless you know that you're going to the end. He's back out onto the super softs as Borja Melanson.
Jeffrey in. Sorry, James. Borja and Jeffrey in, so they're going to double stack.
Oh,
now,
this should be okay.
Let's keep an eye on it.
There'll be enough room. There'll be enough room. Yeah, Fornino, he's had to back out way too much.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
5 seconds is cutting it close.
You can't do that old school Edness trick where we saw this back in Supercup back in the day, where you'd put 2 cars in the same box. That was unfortunate for Fournier. I don't quite know why he followed his teammate down the pit lane. I'm assuming there's communication there, so maybe a breakdown in it. Or maybe they didn't expect Milan to be stood still for quite as long. That is a very interesting one there.
Let's have a look here. So Borja Milan completed 14 laps on those super softs. Wow, Fournier only completed 15 laps on the soft tyres. He must have shredded through them. And I think that was a bad strategy call in hindsight from the Epic boys.
Absolutely. I was not expecting Fournier to pit in anywhere near close to the same lap as Borja Milan. So that's really hampered Fournier's chances of getting to the podium. And advantage Burlack, it has to be said, who has been creeping up very casually. Ricardo Costa now going door-to-door with Fidek on fresher rubber. He gets past Fidek, no problem, on the way towards Cox Corner. So he's back to 4th place. But Peter Burlack, for me, he seems to have made himself right into the frame at the right moment. He could jump Fournier.
Yeah, Seabor's just come straight down pit lane.
It's not a surprise, especially since the Epic boys have both pitted.
Well, this is the thing. Siebel basically just needs to respond to whatever the Epic cars are doing, or should I say, whatever Borja Milan and Peter Burlack are doing from now on, because I do believe that Fournier has really caused himself a problem, James.
Yeah, absolutely. Burlack's in, Siebel's in, so Siebel's out onto super softs. Let's see what Burlack's, is he going to go onto the soft tyres? Nope, he's going for the super softs as well, as here comes Milan, and so Alex Siebel comfortably out ahead of him. But yeah, it's the case where now you're going to be committed to multiple
Burlack
stops.
And Fournier, pit exit. Who's going to get there first? It is Fournier who just hangs on in front of Peter Burlack, but Burlack is going to want to try and do something about that very, very quickly indeed.
Well, he's got the fresh tyres now. He knows he's got the advantage.
So down the Wellington Straight. Lewis, this is going to be a tight battle for the 3rd and final podium step.
Yeah, and he knows that his tyres are going to hold out a bit longer. Ricardo Costa has just gone purple through the first sector, so he is pushing on hard. 8 seconds away from the lead there. Maybe a bit too tall of an order for the Portuguese driver, but podium definitely on the cards there.
Now, we're getting a report, James, that Dennis Jordan, behind these guys in 6th position, is actually hitting the rev limiter down the hangar straight in DRS. Now, that's very interesting because that basically limits what Dennis Jordan can do in a straight line trying to keep up with these guys.
Well, we saw Risto Capit overtake Jarl Tyen, and we believe that the reason for that was because Jarl Tyen had suffered damage somewhere. That is the only overtake on track that Risto Capit has made on a runner which he is in direct combat with. Dennis Jordan, he's in a similar setup scenario where he's not got that top line speed, unless Peter Burlack falls into some sort of worry himself. I can't personally see the overtake happening, and this is what we were saying in regards to Siebel. Siebel's had the great start. He's out front. He's got clean air ahead of him. He can just drive to his heart's content. For the likes of Capit and Jordan, mired in the midfield, overtaking is going to be so difficult without a mistake or problems ahead of them.
Well, the fastest lap of the race for Dennis Jordan.
Yep.
As I
the fastest lap of the race, despite all that. This is going to be one of those races, Lewis, where, okay, it's not overtaking every 5 seconds, but in terms of the intrigue of the strategy and the differing setups, this is a fascinating Grand Prix because even Siebel out front, 3 seconds clear of Milan, is not safe yet. It's all down to how this stint plays out.
It's interesting to me that Siebel didn't go off on his own thing, because I thought that's what he was going to do at the start. I thought he was just controlling it and keeping in touch with what was going on. But then everyone else started pitting. He realised that the drop-off on the tyres is too great, and then he has been forced to follow everyone else's strategy and kind of keep up to date, keep tabs on what's going on and make sure that he doesn't fall too far out of sync with everyone. I still feel Siebel is in complete control of what's going on as he sets a purple second sector, heading down to complete the 27th lap of the Grand Prix as we just passed that half distance point. He has been in complete command of this race, and he does set the fastest lap of the race on that lap. So I think Siebel's a little too strong at the moment. Sorry to dash your hopes.
Honestly, just set me up for a fall, will you? Alex Siebel, Borja Milan and Ricardo Costa in the mix. Now, Risto Capit is in 8th position at the moment. Mark Hutchinson in 7th position. Fidek in 9th place because into the pits has come Flo Gaia. And then we have Siebel, Milan, Costa at the front of the field. Final points positions, Cooper, Paolini and Hoekstra still very much in the mix of all of that, with Gaia hitting, well, the Meserics are in a different strategy, a different pace to Gaia, clearly. Kasdorp's got himself back into the points for the moment. Gaia in 16th from Angeloni. So a very interesting battle at the moment as Angeloni just manages to pip Gaia out of the pits. But up front, Siebel still has 3.2 on Milan.
Do you want to hear something interesting, boys?
Always.
Florian Gaia only did 15 laps on that set of softs as well. I don't think that tyre is doing what these guys want because it is barely any better than the super soft tyre. So we might have found a bit of a dud, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, the thing is with these tyres, you go for... Again, we were talking about this earlier. It's all about how you drive the tyres. So if you're driving the tyres to the limit of the tyre, say an example of the softs, which you need to do to keep up with the super soft, I just don't think the questions that all of these people are asking of the tyres are just like, nah, I don't want to answer that yet. And so for the soft tyre, it's just like it cannot hold on and keep the pace in the way that people maybe expected through practice, because maybe in practice they weren't expecting to run this hot a pace. Also, 2 fun facts. Number 1, Boy Milan, fast lap of the race. Boom. Let's throw that one out there, 28.317. Also, another fun fact is this is the first time since the first stint that the top 7 are on the same compound of tyre. Obviously, we've only done a couple of stops, but it's interesting that all 7 of them went onto the super softs. That is a surprise. No one decided to try a different tyre or try something a bit different. Everyone was just like, no, we're going to sit this out on the supers.
Do you want another fun fact? They're just going to keep on going at them. It's double misery for Yuri Kasdorp. He's got a drive-through penalty as well.
Oh, Yuri. Where's that endurance racer in you, Yuri? He's that's a shame. For someone that was going so well previously in the race, he's come out directly behind his teammate as well, 17th and 18th. Potential points still on the cards, of course, as his teammate lets him go. But what could have been for Yuri Kasdorp for the British Grand Prix?
As I'm wondering, do we still have Mr. Jake Sanson?
We do. I'm just trying to sort out pieces of apparent some echo. I was trying to make sure I didn't quite sound like I was in a cave on the... I didn't want to sound like I was... underground watching, because I am sat in the studio with you. I do apologise, but we'll try and make sure everything is working according to plan, but hopefully it should be a little bit better now. Apologies for those of you who are getting irritated by it. I've tried wherever possible to make it sound a little bit more pleasant for you all, but Alex Siebel leading the way from Borja Milan, Ricardo Costa and Jeff Fournier. But it is fascinating to see how some drivers are coping with these pendulum swings on the strategy and others are not. Interestingly, just tagging onto the back of Jarl Tyne, I've noticed, James, Kirk appears to have come out of nowhere. He's suddenly on the march forward.
Well, he's pitted earlier than everyone else. Oh, that's a massive mistake from Tyne there. And so, remember, Tyne had to pit earlier for that damage repair. So they're at very weird positions. Both of these guys not really in sync with anybody else on track. So although the battle is on track for P10, I wouldn't expect it to be for P10 by the end of the race.
So the battle for third position is about to get very interesting. Costa's got Fournier now just 0.6 of a second behind him. Fournier, of course, having originally lost that third position. But Fournier is obviously going to want to try and get back on terms with Costa as soon as is possible. Dennis Jordan is now right up behind Peter Burlak, and Risto Capit is a good 10 seconds behind that. So Jordan is going to want to try and see if he can get through into the top 5 using the DRS on Peter Burlak, Lewis, and that could happen within the next couple of laps as Tyne and Cooper pit on the same lap.
Yeah, Jordan looking to strategize his way onto the podium for the 4th time this year. Obviously a very solid driver at the moment. Current money is on him to maybe pull something off. He's done some weird strategies before, got himself into those positions. So I'd say he's definitely a raceable driver. He could get up towards that podium position as everyone's kind of closing up. Fournier, Costa, very, very close. We'll keep an eye on those going into Stowe Corner. Although I think Costa's lined himself up beautifully there for the exit to get that great run. But that Epic Racing is pretty quick in a straight line, so watch out for it in the down towards Stowe Corner. I don't think it's close enough.
So Alex Siebel still leads the way. If you've just joined us, hello and good evening to you on the WTF1 Superleague British Grand Prix. Jake Sanson, Lewis McGlade and James Kirk with you. It is Alex Siebel, 3.7 ahead of Borja Milan. The race is still on for the victory. Never mind for any of the other positions. Ricardo Costa having just got past Jeff Fournier for third position. And Peter Burlak and Dennis Jordan only half a second apart. There's still a lot of racing to come in this latter half of the Grand Prix with plenty of battles, Lewis, and there's still a very, very wide open contest for that third spot on the podium at the very least.
Yeah, the third spot, we've got 4 drivers all in contention for that third spot. We've got Ricardo Costa, Jeffrey Fournier, Peter Burlak and Dennis Jordan all vying on track at this current moment in time. We don't know if anyone's trying anything a bit weird on strategy behind them. Maybe Risto's got something to throw out there as we head into effectively the final third of the race.
Pick me, Lewis. Pick me. I've got something to say.
Oh, go for it.
So, we were talking about Yuri Kasdorp and how potentially his medium tyres were going to maybe throw a different mix in. Well, Mr. Mark Hutchinson for Flag to Flag has done a very similar strategy. And I can tell you that he has completed 20 laps on those medium compound tyres, of which there is 20 laps remaining.
Well spotted. Yes, 8th position for Hutchinson. He's only 6 seconds down the road from Risto Capit. Now, there's a potential for some of the guys in front of him to make another stop. Hutchinson, what's his current prognosis?
Well, I think on one stop for everyone else, he would be 7th. As in, like, if he stopped and then, I don't know, it's a tricky one. Maybe he can get 7th, but I think a podium's a little bit off the cards.
Well, Videk's definitely catching him on pure pace, but that is because he's on a different compound of tyres. So this could still be one of those very impressive long-term gain, short-term losses for Mark Hutchinson. He's made a massive amount of ground. And to be fair to him, he's been incredibly solid throughout this first part of the race. He's been looking very concrete throughout, hasn't really put a wheel wrong, and that's been very, very important to put himself in the position he's in. Now, James, if you're Mark Hutchinson at this point, do you fight with Videk or you just let him go and follow in behind?
Listen, you're Flag to Flag Sim Racing. You're in your first season in WTF1 Super League. You're looking to get as many points on the board as possible. Videk is on a quicker tyre. You let him go. You know that you've only got one more pit stop until the end. That's guaranteed. The people who can maybe match him in this particular area are ACR Zackspeed, Evolution, and Hawkeye. For the likes of Peter Burlak, maybe Jeffrey Fournier as well, I think they might be at a little bit of risk of being overtaken overall by Hutchinson, because I'm not sure how much further they're going to have to go without the tyres going off. I'm going to throw it out there, right? I think everyone, at least in the top 10, I think everyone is on a one more stop. And that is it. I don't think anyone will do a 2-stop before the end of the race, just because I don't think there's any time. And I also don't think that anyone can get to the end on their present compound of tyre. The most important choice is what tyre they go on to, though.
Yeah, there's only 19 laps to go, and basically whether you go onto the Ultra Soft or the Super Soft, James, that is going to win or lose your battle.
Yeah, exactly. I was just looking at how many laps these guys have done now, and yeah, it does line up. I reckon maybe Burlak, out of all of those guys, will be thinking, well, maybe the Ultra Soft could be a possibility, but given how much it wore out, this isn't France. This is a circuit where those Ultras are going to be worn. I'd probably say expect Super Softs from the pair of them to go to the end.
Yeah, I would agree. I would suspect that everyone in that top 10 is going to go on the Supers. If anyone tries anything different, we'll obviously keep an eye on them, but if you're Alex Siebel, if you're Boy Milan, Ricardo Costa, anything like that, you're going to want to play it safe a little bit, and maybe you want to throw a little bit out there, try and go for it. But Ultras, they're going to wear too quick. We saw people pitting within 10 laps. There's 20 to go, so you would have to pit twice, realistically, to get that one done to the end. The softs have seemed to not work. If there's a team that can get them to work, I challenge you to try it, please. but I just think the Supers are just the superior tyre for the British Grand Prix.
Right, third place battle is getting interesting again, because I thought once Costa got past Fournier, he'd disappear. That is not the case. Fournier is actually getting a lot of benefit from being sat behind Costa. He's not pushing the tyres as much. He's able to use the draft. It's working for him. So could Fournier buy himself another opportunity to grab himself back onto the podium through the pit stop phase? Is he one of those drivers, Lewis, who might just see how far Costa can go, not pushing his tyres as hard, and maybe try that ultra soft gamble?
I think that actually, oddly enough, the best person between that third to sixth, the best person for the podium, based on what we've seen previously throughout this race, is actually P5 Peter Burlack. I reckon he is in a strong position because we saw him jump people through the strategy. He can work the tyres. We know he can save tyres quite well. I think he's going to have to do it on strategy rather than on track. But I reckon when he pits is going to be very, very important, and it could end up being quite a good day for Croatia.
A retirement for 4 drivers in the race: Manuel Martini, Ben Horrell, and then, of course, we missed this actually at the time, but both Michael Ayers and Liam Duval were out of the race on the 23rd lap of the race. Now, I'm not sure if they came together or not. Maybe somebody can give us some information to that effect. But a very difficult start to the British Grand Prix for Liam Duval, looking very much the different driver compared to what we saw in that battle for the victory with Jeff Fournier at the Australian Grand Prix at the start of the season. It's been a very tough year for Storm as a result of that fantastic start to the year. Everybody thought, well, maybe this is a bit of a renaissance, but now it's going to be a very difficult one moving forward. But Peter Burlack in 5th position is not a bad shout for the podium, because these two, Costa and Fournier, are almost backing each other up as they battle. Hutchinson pits. James, what's the compound? This could be crucial.
Well, at this point, he's probably going to have to go mediums, and he's got the soft compound available, of course. But let's see. So how many laps until the end here? There's what? Quick math. So 16. That's you say. I don't know. You'd say easy, but we've seen that people have shredded through these tyres very quickly. Maybe actually with the grip coming to Hutchinson now, maybe it's possible.
I think with the distance he went on the mediums, which was 24 laps, I'm just told. I think he's got a comfortable run on these softs because he's clearly looking after those tyres quite well. Is Mark Hutchinson? I was just taunted by Mr. Mike Pittman at VC Isaacs, but he said he'd try my soft tyre challenge, but they didn't bring them.
Oh, bless it. Parker, in all of that, has made a pit stop as well. So Parker has come into the pits for the last time, and in doing so, goes a lap down behind Alex Siebel, who is still there, just 3.8 in front of Milan. Do you know what? This is another side to Alex Siebel. We've seen him in the lead of races, Lewis, where he's got a good car underneath him, got a good strategy underneath him, and is continuing to battle away. But this time, he's been very conservative. He's been very, very controlled in this race. He hasn't just disappeared out front. He has measured everything to Milan very, very acutely, and is still very much looking the strongest man out there for the win, no doubt. But he's not dominated this one, has he? He's just been very calculated this time.
No, he's it's interesting how much he's been sort of calculated in this one as Siebel, but I think Siebel's going to have this. I think Boyer's probably going to drop back on the final stint, but I think Boyer's definitely good for a solid second. It's just that battle for third. Interesting thing in the chat. Obviously, I know James loves it when I bring up the chat. Milan Rodivojevic, who is a driver. I don't know if he still does. At least did when I was over there back in FSR. He's been telling us about Peter Burlack. If he can go another 4 laps, he can make the ultras work to the end. It's an interesting point because if he can he can go onto the ultras earlier, right? And he can make those work, maybe do a good outlap, maybe do that solid outlap, gain a second. He is on for the podium. Paolini out of the race.
Paolini's out of the race. Now, he's lagged out of the run to the Wellington straight. So Paolini's had a disconnect, unfortunately, and that's dropped him out of a points-paying position as Costa and Fournier pit together. Now, that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, so surely it's going to be super soft for both of them.
Yeah, surely it's got to be super soft. Also, I take back my point. I don't know if Peter Burlack can actually jump them because he's going to have to do it on track on the ultras if he does take them. But I think if he wanted the podium, he would have had to have pitted a lap ago for super softs.
Well,
like just a lap or two before. I'm really gone for it.
Costa has beaten Fournier out of the pits, and actually quite considerably. They were a lot closer on the way into the pits. They have now actually got out, and that's largely because Costa was able to get on the power a little bit before Fournier, of course, on the way out of the pits. They tightened up on the way in, but they were already pretty tight, but Costa was able to jump Fournier anyway, well, stay in front of Fournier anyway, and gain that little bit of traction out of the pit exit to gain a little bit of momentum. That's important, but what the man to really keep an eye on now is Peter Burlak, because he needs a really strong in-lap. He is going to come in this time. Now, surely, if he's coming in on this lap, you can't really gamble ultras. You've got to go supers.
We'll have to wait and see. He's definitely coming in the pit in this time, though. The crew's all getting ready. Same with Dennis Jordan directly behind, who's doing a good job on his lap as well.
From second, so Milan will surely go on to super soft as well. Here, Burlak continues on.
Oh,
Jordan,
he played me. He played me.
You know what? I reckon he is going to go for the ultras. If he's still going, he's going to go for the ultras all out.
For sure.
I suppose that's from his point of view. You know, his teammate Jarl Tyen is down the order, only just in the top 10. They want big points here. This must be one of those make or break moments where Burlak basically decides, no, third position is on. Fourth place is not going to be good enough. Fifth position just sucks. I want to go for the third place. I've got a feeling I can do it, and he is going to take the gamble. Why not, from his point of view, is Capit pits, and he goes on to supers. Is that supers for Capit?
Yep, that is supers, yeah.
Yes, it is. So he has obviously decided, you know what, I'm not going to gamble. I know these tyres can go to the end. When is Alex going to pit? Now, that's interesting, because Alex has gone further than anybody else. So, other than Peter Burlak. So, surely Alex Siebel has got to go supers and just cover off Borja.
I think that Alex may think of doing ultras on, well, maybe going a similar distance to Burlak. I mean, he's going, okay, he's going for supers. He's going for supers.
Going for supers. Well, this is lap 39 he's completing, so that will give him 13 laps to go. Now, you can do an ultra soft stint in 13 laps, but it's not advisable as Burlak pits. Now, this is the critical pit stop, James. This is for the third step of the podium.
Yeah, and I wonder whether he is going to choose ultras. It is going to be a gamble even for Burlak. So it is super soft for Alex Siebel. Looking at Burlak coming in now. We've seen him throw the ultra soft gamble before. It worked in France, but I'm not sure that with the characteristics of Silverstone it's going to work here. He stays on the supers.
Why would you pit this late?
And Costa and Fournier are going to go sweeping past. That, for me, surely is third position gone. Any chance for Burlak to get into third place now are well and truly hammered. He's just got to hope that Fournier and Costa lock together, cost each other time, and he'll have an opportunity. His only chance is the fact that he's got tyres that are 2 laps fresher than Costa and Fournier, but by the time he's even in contention, they may have built up too big a gap for him to do anything about it.
He's got to hope for them to battle. That is all he can hope for at the moment, is to wait for Costa and Fournier to battle.
What about Jordan behind him as well? So Burlak's still got more problems because Dennis Jordan behind him, James, is still very large and ominous on his rearview mirror.
Very true, but Jordan pitted last lap as well. So out of all of these guys, Burlak at least has the freshest tyres. I don't think long-term Jordan is going to be a problem. What Burlak has to do now is simply look ahead, put in the lap times, and hope beyond hope that Costa and Fournier get into some sort of contact with each other. They are very close to battling, mind, but I'm also keeping a look at Borja Milan, who's remained within 2.6 seconds. Maybe it is too much to say that he, can overtake Alex Siebel, but I think fair play and shout out to Borja Milan to stay so close to Siebel and catching him on this lap as well is a huge achievement for the Spaniard.
So
fastest lap, actually.
Yes, it is the fastest lap. Good point. As things currently stand, we have 12 laps to go in the WTF1 Super League British Grand Prix. Jake Sanson, Lewis McGlade and James Kirk with you as we watch these closing 12 laps of the British Grand Prix. And it is going to be a very interesting conclusion. Alex Siebel only 2.5 seconds in front of Borja Milan, but he has the freshest compound of the top 3. Ricardo Costa in front of Jeff Fournier, who is starting to get dangerously close to DRS territory for Costa. He's already in the zone, but he hasn't really been able to get close enough to do anything about it. We've actually seen a note that Fournier is hitting the rev limiter on the hanger straight in DRS. So that's really causing a bit of an issue for Fournier if he wants to get through into third position. Peter Burlak is in 5th place on slightly fresher rubber, but he's not got the opportunity in terms of track position. He's got to gain 2.5 seconds to Costa and Fournier up front. Flo Gaia in the Red Bull Street Fighter is desperately trying to hang on to a point. He's pitted in with just 12 to go. And what's he on as a compound? Is that Supers as well? Yes, yeah. It is. So Flo Gaia trying to get himself back into the points against Yuri Kazdorp, who is in that final points-paying position. Should have been in the top 6, of course, Kazdorp, but had that contact with the barriers mid-way through the race. So all sorts of difficulties. Now, interestingly, Menno Clont had been given a stop-and-go penalty, but it's been removed by the stewards, so clearly...
That'll be T1.
That is turn 1, clearly. So he's managed to get away with that one because, of course, he's lost time and made sure that he has fallen back. Peter Burlak, Dennis Jordan, 5th and 6th. Risto Capit now 7th because David Fidek has made a pit stop and has got himself back out into 9th position. So Hutchinson and Fidek are the men who have played the long game, and they are looking for good points here, James Kirk. That strategy with Mark and David have put them firmly in the top 10 as Jarl Tyen pits for the last time. Surely this has got to be ultras.
Oh, well, yeah, he's kind of like, he's going for the fastest lap. I can tell you that much because it's fallen apart. He should still score points. Jarl, I'm expecting him to come out around 15th place or something. Of course, it's ultras for him. But I tell you what, David Fidek, I reckon he's played a bit of a blinder. He's on ultras for this final stint as well. He should be able to catch Mark Hutchinson. Is actually Jarl Tyen doing a little bit better than what I was expecting. He comes down to P13.
So Tyen 13th on ultras. This will be interesting, Lewis. How far can he go?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. He was trying to do a little bit of strategy help for his teammate Peter Burlak, telling him how far the tyres will go. Boyer Milan's got an absolute load of traffic, which obviously Alex Siebel's already gone through. He's just got a much more awkward position as they head through the final corner. Tobias Olsen's going to get straight out of the way after his incident earlier in the race. Boyer was a little bit quicker, obviously, on the last 3 laps than Alex Siebel, both setting in some very, very respectable times. However, may I remind you of the previous stint where Boyer Milan, despite starting the stint a little bit quicker than Alex Siebel, he did drop off a little bit more as he heads onto the back straight towards Brooklands, right behind Pedro Gomez. Oh, he needs to get through this traffic quick. Alex Siebel struggling to get past his...
I was just going to say, I was going to make the point, actually, Lewis. 10 to go, and the gap between Siebel and Milan has fallen below 2 seconds for the first time since the first stint. So Alex Siebel struggling a little bit here in traffic. This is now Borja Milan's sole chance to get the victory, surely.
Yeah, but he's going to be wearing out his tyres a little bit more in this traffic as well. Pedro Gomez and Menno Clont really need to get out of the way of the number 2 or second position driver on the circuit at the moment as they head through Maggots, Beckers and Chapel. Pedro Gomez is going to be really holding up Boyer Milan, but he's going to get DRS as well as we head back to Fidek for 9th position on Mark Hutchinson.
Oh, Gomez is having a battle of his own with Menno Clont, and this is an absolute nightmare for Milan. He needs to get past both of those two. They are side by side in the corner, and he's absolutely howling at them. Get out of the way. What are you two playing at? You are being blue flagged. I need to come through. This is my race win. You are ruining...
No, Pedro.
That's
absolutely ruining the...
Look at that. He's lost a second.
The win. Lost a second. Thanks, guys.
Well, any chance Epic might have had of taking a victory at the British Grand Prix has taken a severe uppercut now. That's absolutely appalling from both, well, I say both, Menno Clont and Pedro Gomez. One of them should have got out of the way, and that would have triggered the other one to do the same. But unfortunately, I think Epic are going to do whatever they can to throw the book at those two for that battle, and they're still carrying it on, but that has cost Borja Milan any chance in the next 3 to 4 laps of taking a race victory at Silverstone.
You're welcome to carry on the battle. That's not the problem. The problem was there was just no thought there about the car behind. The car's on the lead lap, unfortunately, and I'm sorry, but this is the thing with the current iteration of what is effectively sprint racing, so outside of endurance racing, or unless you're in the same class in endurance racing, if you have a blue flag is effectively law. You need to get out of the way. It is not a, oh, by the way, there's someone quick behind you. It is a, you need to move. You've got... we got Fidek again and Mark Hutchinson, same corner, Brooklands corner. He's on the ultra soft tyres. He's going to try and go around the outside and get the inside for Luffield. I think he's going to do it here.
Oh, that's
and
lovely.
He's going to make that one stick. Yeah, lovely stuff there for David Fidek.
David Fidek. That's why he's a double WTF1 Super League champion. He is, pound for pound, the Fernando Alonso Championship, isn't he? Hard times now, but he is always there and up for the fight. And of course, let's not forget, Fidek was battling for race wins last year. The Nortian car is not quite there on pace, but David Fidek, when the strategy is right and he's on ultras, David Fidek is lightning, and he is absolutely on it again today, proving that quality and that magic is still there as he gets past Mark Hutchinson for 8th position. There could be a bit of a battle continuing on for 3rd place again, because Costa has still got Jeff Fournier all over the back of him. It's all about that rev limiter on DRS for Fournier, whether he can get through or not. They come back onto the Wellington straight. Is Costa going to be able to hold on for the moment? Yes, he is, but Fournier's getting very close here, Lewis. This could get very tasty.
Surprised Berlak's not quite caught him as much. He needs these two to either really fight each other or split apart. Because if they get more than a second apart, he can use DRS to maybe pick them off one at a time. But whilst they're this close, it's very, very difficult for Peter Berlak to really get up there and challenge for that podium. Dennis Jordan as well, really keeping up with Peter Berlak, looking for that position. Oh, Ricardo Costa really pushing this car to the absolute limit as Jeffrey Fournier is all over the back of him. He's going to try something on DRS, but we've heard that Jeffrey Fournier does hit that rev limiter coming down into Stowe corner. He's going to try maybe for the outside of Ricardo Costa coming into Stowe. It's not quite going to work as he hits that rev limiter. Ricardo Costa maintains his 3rd position at the moment ahead of Jeffrey Fournier, and Peter Berlak catching ever still.
How big a headache is this for the team manager on the pit wall, scratching his head going, why didn't we just give it a little bit more top-end speed? Why didn't we go in that direction? We could easily have our cars 2nd and 3rd by this point, but it's not as straightforward as that. Fournier is still doing everything he possibly can to run in with Ricardo Costa. They are definitely looking likely to pick up their 2nd podium of the season. Borja Milan in 2nd position. But Fournier wants to make it an absolute rout with a 2nd and 3rd position, which would definitely help out Epic in their bid to close up on 2nd position in the Constructors' Championship, of course, because they are trying to close up on Edge Esports, who are again having a struggler. Berlak in 5th, Tyne in 11th. A big points haul for Edge Esports, James, would be very welcome at this point.
I'm sure it would, but it's probably not what they're going to be getting. And to be fair, I think Epic has played the setup perfectly. It was just Fournier's strategy which proved to be his downfall. Why go on to the soft, and more importantly, why pit on the same lap as Borja Milan? It should be a double podium, because there's 10 seconds between Milan and Costa at this point. It's not the case, though, and I think Epic will be ruining the decision to go onto the soft tyres.
Yeah, well, I suppose, Lewis, the only way really Fournier can be guaranteed a podium is if the same thing happens to Costa as happened to him on the previous stint, because Costa goes well, and then in the last lap of his stint, the tyres just plummet. If that happens on the last couple of laps of this race, and we're only 6 away from the checkered flag now, if that were to happen, Fournier might get a chance of it.
Yeah, so there's every time we go through a corner, that is an opportunity missed for Fournier to get past Costa here. I would bring back to your point, though, on the soft tyres. I think the soft tyres is less of an issue. Why would you pit both cars at the same time?
Yeah.
That makes absolutely no sense to anyone. Here we are, they're going down into Brooklands. Is Jeff Fournier going to try something around the outside? He's got to try something here. He really, really has to. Time is ticking away in this race. We do not have long. When is Jeffrey Fournier going to get that move done? And the more times he looks and doesn't get a move done, the more time Peter Berlak closes in on that podium position, and then he will have more to think about.
Do you know what? I'm glad you said when, because it is starting to look more like when rather than if Fournier is going to go for that move on Ricardo Costa, because Costa is starting to look a bit vulnerable. In karting, you would say he's defending too early because he's starting to move across the racing line just a little bit too tentatively. It's almost an invitation for Fournier. Come on and go for it. He comes right off the racing line this time. Fournier goes with him. He's going to get good DRS, good traction into Stowe. Maybe he can make a lunge into Vale if he's close enough. He's not on the exit, and that's where he's going to lose out. But he is starting to gain a little bit of knowledge as to where Costa's putting the car in those final few corners. Maybe in the last lap, he can line himself up for a banzai move into one of those corners and snatch that 3rd position. This is all a bit of a little bit of data gathering, James, and almost to judge where Ricciardo's putting the car, where he can make that lunge. And we've seen this time and time again in WTF1 Super League. Drivers making that lunge. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's all about reading the driver in front as to how they're going about it.
If I'm Jeffrey Fournier, I'd be worried that if I make a move now, Costa will be straight back through. Because if you're hitting the rev limiter in the DRS zone, is he going to have a little look into the buttons? No, I think he is trying to cite the best place to overtake him, in which I do believe that would be Stowe or the Vale, but it would have to be final lap because Costa's straight line speed advantage is simply too great between these two cars.
Well, can I just point out again that Siebel and Milan are not in traffic, and Milan is back down to 1.9 seconds behind Siebel. That's not enough to win the race. But interesting, isn't it, that Milan has registered the challenge. He's got frustrated, sat behind that traffic, and he is actually, you know, still within 2 seconds of Alex Siebel. This is very intriguing. I would love to have known whether Borja Milan could have actually beaten Alex Siebel in a straight fight had it not been for that traffic. He's got only 4 laps to go, and the gap is 2 seconds or so. I'm not entirely sure that Borja's going to get this done, but it would have been fascinating, Lewis, to see how much he could have gained.
Yeah, we were really, really robbed there, unfortunately. I say there's still time to go. You never really know what happened. There may be a mistake from Sebring like that. But effectively, we've been robbed of what could have been a great, fantastic final laps for the win. However, what we do have is this fantastic battle for 3rd position. Peter Burlack really closed up with a mistake from Costa, backed up Fournier. Burlack right in the mix now. He's going to have DRS. He's going to be closing up. Now Fournier has to think not only what's in front of him, but what's behind him as well. And this is where things get very, very tricky for the Frenchman.
First and second place has just become a snore fest because we've got 4 of these guys battling away for 3rd position. Costa, Fournier, Burlack and Jordan. 4 different teams will battle for that 3rd step on the podium. And Riccardo Costa has backed Jeff Fournier into a corner beautifully with defensive driving. Okay, he made the mistake, but he's not given up the place to Fournier. And now for Jeff Fournier, it is quite simply, James, fight or flight.
Oh, and what a trophy for any of these guys to get, for the likes of Fournier. What a great momentum pusher that'll be for Epic as they're trying to catch up to Edge. Of course, Jordan, he's picking up these podiums for fun now in his first season of Super League. Burlack, he desperately needs that podium to fight off Fournier. And for Costa, it's a case of, well, I'm here, I've been at the front the entire race, why should anyone take my podium away from me? Lots of different motivations for all 4 of these drivers, but they've only got 3 more laps to do it in.
While we're talking about wrapping things up with 3 laps to go, we have to talk about one man who has, let's be fair here, Lewis, you did say at that point in qualifying, was really going to struggle to step up to the plate in 7th place. 30 seconds off his teammate, Risto Capit, the 2nd place man in the championship. That is an absolute hammer blow to his confidence for sure, isn't it?
Yeah, see, now this is where in qualifying, James, you made the point that 4 tenths is not much. 4 tenths a lap, you've got yourself a 30-second gap. That is a huge margin to drop back to your own teammate in the same car, same setup, same machinery. Whatever Risto's struggling with in that car, he's really struggling with it, and he needs to get it fixed at least over the summer break to come back strong. In the second half of the season. Peter Burlack, yeah, obviously looking coming into Cop's corner, nothing quite doing there. Had to back out a little bit more. Riccardo Costa's absolutely cleared off.
Yeah, this is a 4th position battle now, not a 3rd position battle. Costa's starting to stretch out the gap. He's made it to about, well, it was half a second at the last split. I'd say it's closer to a second now because Costa has managed to get out the gap to 8 tenths of a second over Fournier. Fournier is now struggling to shake off Peter Burlack, and Dennis Jordan is just sat there in 6th position going, well, go on, guys. What are you going to do? I'll just pounce whenever I'm like it.
I know, it's tight. Jeffrey Fournier remaining in DRS zone as we had 2 to go. I don't know who's going to finish off the play. I think all the cards are currently in Costa's hands. He has defended brilliantly over the last few laps. He's just controlled it. He's not let the pressure get to him. He's doing the job he needs to do. Jeffrey Fournier's now come under complete pressure from Peter Burlack, who's also coming under pressure from Dennis Jordan. Dennis Jordan's almost kind of just like, I'll sit out of this one until I need to. But Peter Burlack's very aggressively on the back of the Frenchman there. We head on to the Wellington Straight. He's going to have DRS, as is Jeffrey Fournier. No closing really happening there. And like I made the point earlier, whilst Jeffrey Fournier has the DRS of Riccardo Costa, Peter Burlack has a real challenge to get anywhere near the back of that epic racing car.
I don't want to throw a spanner into the works of this battle for third position, but have you noticed the two cars that are in front of us? That is Matthew Williams and Pedro Gomez. He could throw another spanner into the works here, and that's going to be a real headache if that does become a problem. But now these four have tightened up again. I'm not sure they're going to catch him, Pedro Gomez, the car in front, quickly enough for it to become a major issue. Siebel is about to go into his final lap, 2 seconds ahead of Borja Milan. Frustration for Borja in this race because he can see Alex Siebel in front of him. He knows that he's quite close to him. He's not going to have enough to get this victory, and that's devastatingly close for Borja Milan as Siebel just controls the pace of this going into the final lap. But these four battling for third position, I can't take my eyes off it. This is going to be an epic final lap. Someone's got to go for it.
Yeah, and this is the tie. I say all of those opportunities ticking away. Fournier, if he wants that podium, now is the time. It has to be into Brooklands for sure, because he's just not carrying the momentum through Maggots, Beckers and Chapel. He needs to make sure he absolutely nails the complex, nails Village, nails Farm, nails all of it, heads through and onto the Wellington straight perfectly. Oh, as Ricardo Costa's made a mistake there. This might actually cost him.
Here we go. Fournier is going to get the draft down the Wellington straight. Is this going to be the opportunity? Costa's going to pull out to the left-hand side to stop Fournier coming through. He cuts across through Brooklands, goes straight across the apex, no problem. Burlak's going to tighten up to Fournier. They go through Luffield on the right-hander, and this is going to be an opportunity. Maybe Burlak can go for it into Kopp's corner on Fournier, Lewis. This is his moment.
It's very well thought out for Ricardo Costa. He kept cool, kept calm, looked to the insiders here. We got Peter Burlak looking to the inside of Kops. Oh, it's just not quite going to work out for him as Jeffrey Fournier holds that fourth position. Ricardo Costa maybe getting away a little bit. You're going to use 100% of the tyres you have left through Maggots, Beckers and Chapel to try and get the best run possible onto the hangar straight.
Well, Alex Siebel is going to come into the Vale to wrap it up again after another fantastic performance, controlling the pace beautifully. Alex Siebel takes the British Grand Prix. He wins in fantastic style from Borja Milan in second place. We've got to look back, though, at this battle for fourth position. Costa looks safe in third. Fournier's trying to hold to the inside line. Burlak's going to break deep and just about hangs on in front of Dennis Jordan. It will finish at that. Ricardo Costa hangs on for third position. Fourth for Fournier, fifth for Burlak, sixth for Jordan. What an epic encounter that was, Lewis. Very intriguing stuff, right down to the finish.
Yeah, four different teams all vying for that final place on the podium. Excellent stuff. Great drive from Ricardo Costa. Looked great all the time through the race. Front row start for him as well. Brilliant round for the Hawkeye driver. Risto Caput comes home in one of the loneliest seventh places that I've ever seen. He has just been sort of on his own, cruising about. And then, P8, P9, P8 for Fidek, P9 for Mark Hutchinson, right, Kilk and Jarl Tyen, P10. Oh, this is tight.
Wheels on their way to the Vale. Can try and hold it round the outside. They are going to
turn in a bit too much there.
Back wheels once, twice, three times, and that's a really close run to the flag. Tyen is going to squeeze Kilk across the line. Now, that one is going to be debated. Definitely, that one's going to be up for discussion, James. And I'm not sure who you'd side with in that one.
We're not going to quote me from early in the race saying that this is going to be a battle for P10. It was a battle for P10, and a little bit of naughty afters from Wright as well. I agree. That one's going to be debated by people with a lot more power than us.
Well, am I right in thinking that naughties after the race is illegal?
Naughties after the race is it illegal? Yes, which is why I'm saying we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll leave it to the people who know what they're doing. The final points finishes. Wopke Hoekstra came home in 12th position. Osvaldo Angeloni recovering to 13th from Yuri Kaznov. And finally, another point for Red Bull Street Fighter as Flo Gaia gets it back into 15th position. But it's donuts and very nearly a dead engine for Siebel, I thought that was. A puff of smoke coming out of the car. But Alex Siebel, that victory in the British Grand Prix means so much to him. You could tell, Lewis, in the euphoria he is feeling on the way home. He beat Borja Milan in a straight fight. But that was beautifully done from Alex Siebel. That was a very different kind of race win, but he proved that he can play the percentage just as well as he could dominate.
Yeah, obviously the absolute form man in the championship. His first season in the WTF1 Super League, he has taken this by storm. Absolutely fantastic drive for Alex Siebel there. It was just well controlled. We've seen him push the car to the limit. We've seen him control a race now. I don't know what else is left to tick off other than the championship for him this season. He's just driving so well at the moment. as he crawls back into the pit lane. What a fantastic drive. But what I will say is we do have hope for those final few, well, for the latter part of the season. We've got teams that are really starting to challenge ACR Zaxby. That epic racing car, absolutely fantastic day. Boy Milan maybe robbed of it a little bit through what we've seen. Maybe Alex was controlling it a bit too much. We'll have to see what happens. Jeffrey Fournier realistically should have been on that podium without that strategy mistake that they had midway through the race when they pitted both cars at the same time. Oh, there's so many questions to be answered again after this race, and I can't wait to see the next one. It's very enthralling.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys for it. James Kirk, driver of the day. This is a tough one to call.
Oh, goodness me. You know what? I'm going to go a little bit left field, and I'm going to say Mark Hutchinson. He kind of rose up from the ashes with a different strategy, and I know we could easily just say, oh, well, Yuri Kasdorp was on the same strategy. The difference is that Mark Hutchinson finished the race, and he provides yet more good points to flag in their first season of Super League.
Not a bad call. Lewis, your own bet?
Oh, I'm split. I'm split between three drivers, and they are all the ones on the podium. I'm going to go with Boy Milan to have just kept that pressure up all the time on Siebel. He just every lap was done to almost perfection for Boy Milan. Yes, he got a little bit of help on the strategy with the switch over from Fournier, but it was just done. He read the numbers and he just pushed to the limit he could on them. Did an excellent job. I will say Ricardo Costa, I'd give him definitely runner-up as driver of the day just because of the amount of pressure he was dealing with and the cool head that he kept to keep that third position. Fantastic stuff there for the Portuguese driver.
Milan's first podium in Super League as well, remember?
It is, yeah. Very good point. It is Milan's first podium in Super League. I'm going to go left field the same way James Kirk did, but it's a different driver for me. I'm going to pick David Fidek because David Fidek looked like David Fidek today, the man who is a double champion. Starting out of position, not the greatest of positions to race from, but the strategy put him right up into the firing line. Good points for him today. That's going to put some lead back in the pencil, to coin a rather dodgy phrase, but he's very, very happy with that, I'm sure. He's looking much, much better here at Silverstone. And of course, we've got a few drivers to talk to before we get ourselves into the mix. We'll obviously talk to our top three drivers. We'll talk to Alex Siebel. We'll talk to Borja Milan. And of course, we'll talk to Ricardo Costa. We need to come up with a unanimous driver of the day here outside the top three, I suppose, to come up with that. I mean, I think it's between mine and James's choice. I mean, who do we give it to? Do we give it to David? Do we give it to Michael? Because that's both very, very good calls.
Let's say whoever turns up in the booth. That'll be the driver of the day.
David Fidek is there, so there you go.
So there you go. David Fidek is outside of the top three driver of the day. There you go. Sorted.
Well, let's start off then at the sharp end with the race winner after an absolutely fantastic performance today. A controlled victory, and yet again at the front end, Alex Siebel, a victory in the British Grand Prix. And we saw your donuts there at the end, Alex. That one clearly means a lot to you. What a great result.
Yeah, of course, it was so hard to stay in front of Milan because he came out of nowhere after the first stint and was so unbelievably quick. I really had to push every lap, every single corner to get every 10th possible. And yeah, I'm so happy that it worked out in the end. It was so tight.
So the cynics have obviously been chatting away saying, oh no, that was just Alex controlling the pace. What you're saying is that was genuinely you were giving it 10 tenths. You were not letting up at any moment.
Yeah, every time I thought, okay, Milan maybe struggles with its tires or so, I calmed down a little bit, but in the next lap I lost 3-4 tenths again, and then especially in the last stint where two back markers were in front of me, I will get a little bit out of the rhythm and overdriven the car, and it was so tight, but in the last 3 laps I get into the rhythm again and could make it to the end, but it was not as controlled as you may think.
Fantastic. Do you know what? I'm going to hand this over to Lewis. Have you got a question for Alex?
Well, I mean, what is the next thing you've got to tick off? You've had multiple race wins. We're up to 5 now. You've had races where it's all about controlling tyres. It's all about pushing to the limit. Like, what are you aiming for over the rest of the championship outside of the championship itself?
To be honest, to give the best, to do every race as good as I can, and it's working great so far, and the aim is to just continue like that.
Brilliant stuff. James, do you have anything for Alex?
Okay. Let's go for a little bit of a devil's advocate question. Most people will ask you, well, what in the second half of the season, what track are you looking at, which you're thinking you're going to be particularly strong on? We know you're a strong driver anyway. So, out of the second half of the season, what track are you looking at where you may think, oh, I might have to put a bit more work in here than I might have to do on other tracks?
A bit more work. Well, I don't have the calendar right in front of me right now, but last year I drove Super Cup and wasn't quite as competitive as on other tracks at Brazil, even though it's one of my favorite tracks, but I don't know what went wrong there. And last year I didn't race at Abu Dhabi, so it's quite of an unknown for me.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, we have to say an absolutely fantastic performance, a really, really good job. And well done to Alex Siebel, winner of the British Grand Prix in WTF1 Super League. Congratulations, mate. Great job. Right, let us go and have a word then with our man in second position. The first time on the podium in WTF1 Super League, not just in 2018, but of all time as well. A fantastic performance from Borja Milan. You had pretty much everybody on the stream cheering you on there, Borja. They were right behind you, buddy. Second place. Frustrating, I guess, but that must be so satisfying as well.
Well, of course. I mean, I don't know what to say right now. I'm really happy, and I obviously had this car that was the best car, so it helped me. But anyway, I'm really happy with the result.
I tell you what, I mean, that must be, when you come that close to winning and you know that you were making Alex Siebel basically work harder than he's had to work for a long time. It must be very, very difficult to take that, second position is what you could get today. But that must be really confidence boosting to know that on paper, you can win races now. You can be at the front. Well,
after the last year in Super Cup, where I managed to be in some races on Alex's pace, I thought I will be close to podium or top 5 in all races. But, I mean, after starting doing 4 championships at the same time, I didn't have a lot of time to practice, for the first 6 races or 7.
Very impressive stuff. Lewis, any questions for Borja?
Yeah. Now there was something that happened in the middle of the race that we're a little bit baffled, perplexed by. We're confused by it. Now yourself, you headed down the pit lane. Your teammate followed you. Was this something that was discussed within the team, or just something that kind of you did your thing and then he just happened to do the same thing at the same time?
We knew that our pit will be like 4.4 seconds, and he was almost 5 seconds behind me. So it wasn't a lot of time that he will lose,
So it was calculated. It's just seemed like a bit of an odd decision.
Sorry?
It just seemed like a bit of a risky decision for the team.
Yeah, it was. I think Jeffrey in the end lost a bit of time and lost a position. Probably cost him the podium, but we will see if he gets it or not anyway.
Very interesting. Well, a fantastic performance, Borja. We know that first win is not far away. Congratulations. Second here at Silverstone. Really good job. Well done, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Now, we did have Ricardo Costa hanging on. He seems to have disappeared for a moment. We'll try and get him back in. But for the moment, I feel we should talk to the man who is definitely smiling tonight, looking much stronger here at his home race of Silverstone. A double champion in WTF1 Super League, of course, and now an 8th position and my personal selection for driver of the day, David Fidek. David, it's great to see you back. You looked fired up today. You looked more confident. That was a car you felt like you had some faith in it today, clearly.
Can I at least keep P7?
Sorry, it was 7. You're right.
It's a hard job getting points, man.
My apologies. I did miscount. That was my bad.
Yes, no worries. Thanks, man. I was just telling Florian then in the other chat, our race pace was pretty solid. The car felt awesome all race. Like even from the get-go on ultras in traffic, like I could stick with people and still save tires. So like I felt confident when we went to softs to go longer, and you know, the second stint when I come out in P9, I think it was, I was matching, if not a little bit quicker than Risto, who was on the supers. So I thought, okay, it's not too bad. Yeah, but like, again, the same old story. I don't know how people do it, but quali is just, it's just crazy. Like I matched my personal best, but it's still 0.8 off of pole, and it's like down in P15. You're like, crazy, man. Like everything's got to be pinpoint. But yeah, as you said, race is a lot better. I think the setup is there or thereabouts now. We just got to catch up on the development, which I did wrong, admittedly. So yeah, hopefully the summer break we can make a jump with that and bounce back in Spa, I believe, obviously after Germany.
Okay, so obviously that's definitely going to be a much better, you know, state for the Norwegian team to pick themselves out of. It's been a tough start to the season, but races like that, I guess you can find a little bit more data to work from and move your way forward. Is that kind of the feeling at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot harder testing these last few weeks for me. Just playing around with different things and doing things I'm not comfortable with in the car, and it's like it's paying off slowly. I mean, race by race we're finding more race pace, and when I'm following other cars, like you get like you're on similar wing level, but you can see how their car is rotating around the corners, especially the slower ones. So you find out then where you're losing out as well. So got ideas for the next race, and yeah, pick up development. Hopefully it'll get us further into the top 10, hopefully like top 5 and fighting the big guys, because quali is letting us down. So if we have a good quali, we can easily fight them, I think.
Fantastic. It's much better to see you where you want to be, David, or at least closer to where you want to be. Great top 10 result. Fantastic job, and a brilliant result. Well done, buddy.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Right, Ricardo Costa has returned, so we'll wrap up with Ricardo having got himself into third position. Ricardo, we were on the edge of our seats with that battle. 4 drivers battling for that third place. I mean, I know you weren't in contention in the end for the victory, but hanging on by a thread to that must feel a little bit like a victory.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it was a really hard race since the start. I noticed I couldn't manage the tires as I wanted. So I think I did like 10 laps with the ultra softs, and from my testing I thought I could do like 12 or 13 laps. So yeah, since then I was really struggling with pace, and Borja was really quick, and then Civil, so I couldn't keep up with them. So yeah, I tried to hold a bunch of cars behind me like a train or something. So yeah, I think I pushed a little bit too hard most of the time, and yeah, it was really hard race.
So now that we've got that kind of potential, do we think that there's maybe just a little bit more to, you know, can we get a little bit closer to the front end? Is that doable, do you think? Or was today encouraging enough to sense that, you know, maybe there's a victory or two in the offing?
Maybe. I mean, I practice a little bit more than I did a couple of rounds before. So yeah, I in qualify I think I have almost the same pace as the top guys, but in race pace I still have something to find, especially on tire management. I'm still really bad at it. So yeah, I'm struggling with that. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Great to see you on the podium and third position. Absolutely brilliant job, and great to see you fighting the way to the podium. Good job, mate.
Thank you. I have to say something else. I know I went most of the time wide, exiting cops, but to be honest, I had no choice. I mean,
if disclaimer in just in case someone challenged.
Yeah, no. I want to be honest, and I know I went wide a lot of times there. So.
Well, fair enough, Ricardo.
I had no choice, basically.
You drove valiantly, and third position is a great reward. Well done, buddy.
Thank you, mate.
Right, we have time for just one more before we wrap things up. We will grab the man who has brought the Red Bull Street Fighter in the points again. It was a tough race, but despite very nearly getting cannoned into on the first lap, a point is a fantastic result. Well done to Flo Gaia. Great to see you back in the points again, Flo. That was a tough race. Hard work from you, but there's potentially some light at the end of the tunnel there, isn't there?
Yeah, hey man. Yeah, I think there's pretty small light at the end of the tunnel at the moment. Quali went pretty good, considering how much faster some other cars are and how much behind we still on setup. I think it was a pretty good lap on the harder tire, just what I think 9/10 of pole. Start, I got hit from left, right, from the rear, and everywhere, and had the full Christmas tree on the damage scale. So, yeah, car was a bit slowed down, but I still kept with Dave in the first stint somewhat for a few laps, and yeah, but from then on I had pressure from the Missouri cars behind, and I had to defend my position, which I did quite well, and we could execute our strategy quite well. And from there onwards, I adjusted my race, but pace just wasn't there, and I pretty much had one lap on the tires when they were fresh, and then it just sort of went away from me. So there was nothing I could do, just try my best. And in the end, I had pressure from Alex behind, who was on ultras and catching like a second a lap, so I was a bit worried he might get me. But yeah, I think this point is it's obviously not enough for our standards and for what we want. But
Right,
for the moment, you have to live with it.
I've got one last question for this broadcast that is basically, Flo, bear with me here, because this is addressing the elephant in the room to a certain extent. Coming into this weekend, there was a rumor that you were not going to be competing. You overturned that decision. You come racing here today. Obviously, it's been a frustrating start to the year for the team, and you are obviously going to be working very, very hard to get this car further forward. How long do you give it when it's difficult? You're obviously trying to break into the points whenever you possibly can. How long do you actually give it before you say enough is enough? How long do you give it?
Well, I got a multi-year contract, so if I'm last every race because for some reason, then that's how it is. I'm not gonna leave this team or anything else. I'm as committed as I was at the start of the season or preseason, when we had much different objectives. So now we fight for relegation, and that's what we have to do, and that's what I'm gonna do with this team. And I mean, yeah, there's nothing much to add.
So that basically suggests that, let's say the worst case scenario happens and the team goes down to Super Cup. Are you going with them?
I will stick with this team, even if it might not be in the racing role, but because I want to do Super League. And if it's not possible, I take over another role in the team. But yeah, I'm committed to this team. With Ben, Dave, and all the other guys in the background, our junior drivers and so on. So, and I think Red Bull knows that we work hard. It's just not the results at the moment. But once they will come, it will be pretty good for all of us.
Okay. I'm really, it's really fascinating hearing your thoughts on it, Flo. We wish you all the best for the rest of the season, and hopefully there's more points and potentially podiums by the end of the season to get you guys back where you deserve to be. Good job, Flo, and hopefully we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, podium would be something, especially in Hockenheim in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Flo. Well, that is about all there is left of the British Grand Prix broadcast. An Alex Siebel victory, Lewis. Really exciting to watch, and interesting that he was pushed all the way on pure merit by Borja Milan, courtesy of the fact that, you know, half a minute back was his own teammate in the same equipment, even pushing at 10 tenths. Siebel was almost beaten today.
Yeah, it's quite amazing to have it in a position where the same dude wins quite often. You know, we're at 5 times this season, yet still the Grand Prix are exciting. We're always on the edge of our seat. We've not been bored yet. It's been some excellent racing. We've had a great show here at Silverstone. We've had some great racing throughout the field. We've seen overtakes possible. And this is at a circuit where it's difficult to overtake at. This is one of the harder ones. We've got plenty of tracks in the calendar that we're going to. You know, I can't wait for places like Spa and Monza. We're going to have some excellent Grand Prix there. And yeah, especially if we can maybe drizzle a little bit of weather in there. Come on, someone. Someone make it rain, please.
Well, it's the halfway point in the Drivers' Championship, so let's look at the standings. The top 5 in the championship for the teams. It is ACR Zakspeed now 102 points clear of Edge Esports in second place. Epic Racing are catching them on 166. Evolution still banging in some good scores on a 132, with Hawkeye Racing hitting their first century here at Silverstone after a third place for their man Ricardo Costa. In the driver standings, though, Alex Siebel is 37 ahead of Risto Capet, his teammate, with Jeff Fournier making big gains on the Estonian in third position. Look at that, though. The 2 Edge Esports drivers are separated by just a solitary point. Jarl Tyen of Norway and the Croatian Peter Burlak, who's just looked at some football results and been mighty chuffed with his evening's work. Final word, James Kirk. Really entertaining British Grand Prix. One of the best at Silverstone in WTF1 Super League for a while. We go to Hockenheim next. Second half of the season. Will it offer just as much intensity?
Well, I know that Lewis is looking forward to Spa and Monza, but I think that's doing Hockenheim a little bit of injustice, of course, with its huge back straightaway, massive DRS zone. If you weren't satisfied by the number of overtakes here today, then you most certainly will be satisfied by the amount of overtakes at Hockenheim. My big question to the rest of the field is, who is going to finally beat Alex Siebel again? I challenge anyone to step up to the plate. Borja Milan came mighty close. I wonder if Epic can continue that amazing form into Germany.
It's going to be a fantastic second half of the season, isn't it? My thanks to James Kirk and to Lewis McGlade beside me. It's been a fantastic British Grand Prix. You've got to the 50% mark, the halfway point in the WTF1 Super League of 2018. The second half of the year is going to be mighty, mighty good stuff. I'm Jake Sanson. From all of us here behind the scenes at GPVWC and simnews.tv, for all of you watching on the GPVWC YouTube channel and on WTF1's Facebook page, a massive thank you. And we will see you for the second half of the season, kicking off with the German Grand Prix next.
To keep up to date with the latest GPVWC videos, click on the subscribe button, or check out more of our exciting sim racing action by choosing a video. For more information on the league, visit gpvwc.com.